Today's episode comes to you from the Blue Chew studio. Right now, when you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the third for free with the promo code Wrestle at BlueChew.com.
Welcome to Something to Wrestle With.
Something to wrestle with.
Bruce Prichard.
Well, you know.
That's not a rib.
No, yeah, but
There's no box of gimmicks.
Rumor and innuendo.
I don't deal in rumor and innuendo. And was he there? I was there. I don't give a shit.
Welcome to Something to Wrestle With.
Something to wrestle
Something to
with.
wrestle with.
Something to wrestle with. Bruce Prichard. It's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to Something to Wrestle With. John Layfield. John, what's going on, man? How are you?
Bradshaw 316 says, I just stole your fucking podcast.
Well, we're excited to be with you, man. We're going to have a little fun today. We're going to be throwing the keys to our listeners and doing an Ask JBL Anything. Of course, we've got one incredible find that I can't wait for you guys to see with our pal Tony from Heritage Auctions, and a very special guest for Curtain Jerkers, somebody that JBL has wanted on the program for a long time. I can't wait for all that. But first, I do want to start with some headline news. You know, you're a business guy, and obviously you've been keeping an eye on what's happening with this shareholder lawsuit with WWE. It was supposed to go to trial this past Monday, and that did not happen. It's been confirmed that they have reached a settlement. Now, we don't know all of the ins and outs in terms of this, so we can't really discuss it at a high level. But just knowing that this case is not going to move forward feels like it's probably going to be a big sigh of relief for everyone on both sides. How do you reconcile this in your mind, that this doesn't make it to trial? I have to admit, I kind of didn't expect it to, given all the other stuff happening around it. It felt like, they want a payday, but I think you and I were both sort of scratching our head. Hey, how do you demonstrate real losses here? The stock is up like double since the whole merger happened. But now, no shareholder lawsuit. What do you think, John?
Yeah, and I don't know what the settlement was. You know, my dad used to always tell me a bad settlement's better than a good lawsuit any day of the week. You know, and sometimes, I've been around Vince a long time. Vince just gets out of things. Sometimes it's just not worth the trouble. These lawsuits are, sometimes they're just fishing. Sometimes there has some merit behind it. I don't know the veracity of any of the claims. I don't know the merit of the lawsuit itself. But getting out of this, that's a really good thing for TKO.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it wasn't high fives all around. But a settlement means that shareholders are going to get paid too. So I don't think that there's a loser in this. It feels like winners in every direction. I kind of felt like this outcome was inevitable. But hey, back to business for TKO, which is probably good news for everyone. There was a statement that was put out, and it came through Fightful Select. And it's being framed as if it's a source close to Vince McMahon, whatever that means. But the statement was, this exact kind of litigation follows every single transaction involving a public company. But here's the key. Endeavor's bid was by far the highest, and it was signed off by 3 independent banks. That's why WWE's board of directors gave their unanimous approval. The deal created the premier combat sports company, and the shareholders made an absolute fortune. Now, there are some boo birds online who are saying, well, this statement is not correct. I don't know that there's parts of this that can be debated. I do feel like anytime some sort of a merger like this happens, litigation often follows. That's not necessarily unique. I feel like that's honest. And I also believe that, hey, it did create the premier combat sports company. I don't think that can be debated. And the shareholders made a fortune. Yeah, it's up double. All of that feels like facts. Now, the part that they may get wishy-washy on is, hey, was Endeavor's bid the highest? I don't pretend to know that. Was it signed off by 3 independent banks? I don't pretend to know that. All I know is everybody involved here made money, John.
This is so damn stupid. I remember I was sitting in the backstage area with Colonel Parker and Terry Funk one time, and they were going to go out and get their head blown off by the pyro and sue the company for $7 billion, something like the $7 or $8 billion. That's when the company was not worth even $1 billion. And they had figured this whole thing out. They spent hours. They even figured out where they're going to spend their money, the island they were going to buy out, all the different things, the boats and all the different stuff. This stuff, there's always some bullshit fly-by-night lawyer that comes along and says, okay, this was a $14, $15 billion company, what it is now. I don't know what it was then. Maybe 20. I don't remember what it was back then. Let's just see if we can't get something. The idea is very simple. Me and Ron used to joke about this all the time. We're going to sue the company for $1 billion, and we're going to settle for $100,000, just so we can get $100,000 and pay off our house. That's essentially is what these lawyers are doing. They're saying, okay, this company is worth so much money. We're going to step in here, and we're going to have some lawsuit, and we're going to try to tie them up in court and see if we can't get lucky and get a settlement. And that's all these jackasses are doing. I mean, that's this. There's so many lawyers that tie up stuff in the corporate world. That certainly appears to be what this is as well. I just don't see any merit to this whatsoever.
Yeah, I kind of didn't expect it to get this far, if I'm honest with you, but I'm glad that it reached a resolution that apparently everybody's happy with. So it feels like a non-starter.
And I hope these guys didn't get any money, because this is such bullshit. So many guys sue big companies, just like I say, me and Ron used to always say that we're going to sue them for $1 billion and settle for 100,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 or whatever it is, just to get a little pocket change. That's what a lot of these lawyers do. They sue these companies for something so egregious. They say, okay, we're going to give you all kinds of bad publicity. We're going to tie you up in lawsuit. And then they hope to settle for something very small. And I hope they didn't get any money.
I mean, it feels like they had to, right? I mean, what else could they offer? Is there more shares, maybe?
And I've seen Vince over the years pay people off when he thought there was no cause whatsoever, but he paid them off to get rid of them. For whatever it was. I'm not talking about anything that's that bad. Get sued over a building somewhere or something.
It's a nuisance fee. Yeah,
it's a nuisance fee, is what it is. And Vince would always say, like my father said, a bad judgment is better than a good lawsuit anytime. And Vince felt the same way. And so I don't doubt they just didn't give him the little money to go away, which I think is absolute bullshit, because that's what's wrong with society. These guys need to have loser pays. If they sue some company and it's determined frivolous, they need to have a penalty in our judicial system today, so you don't have all these stupid lawsuits.
Well, we can solve all those problems another day. Let's talk a little bit more about wrestling. Our great close personal friend Road Dogg made a appearance, his first public appearance, at least with the media, on Busted Open last week. And he was basically laying out that he wasn't having very much fun. Here's the exact quote. I wasn't having any fun. It got to be so much work that it stopped being fun. I actually stayed longer than I wanted just out of fear of unemployment. I didn't do well with my money. I'm a drug addict and recovering alcoholic. I didn't manage my money well. That fear of the unknown kept me for a long time. I was about to go into a meeting and my wife told me on the phone, I lived with you in a tent. And I said, I'm coming home right now. If you lived with me in a tent, I don't need to pay the mortgage. Hey, I for one, am really thrilled that Road Dogg is able to make choices that he wants to. He doesn't feel like life is being dictated to him. He can live his life on his terms, and good for him. But it's rare that a guy rises the ranks in wrestling behind the scenes and earns a very, very great spot that earns a lot of money, that eventually just throws in the towel and says, hey, I'm not having any fun and I'm going to walk away. So maybe I just respect it more. What do you think of this report from Road Dogg?
I think it's awesome. I was with Road Dogg this past weekend. Me and Ron were doing a signing down somewhere. And
St. Augustine.
St. Augustine, that's right. We're in St. Augustine, Florida. What a fun signing down there, River City Con, and had a great time. But Road Dogg and Billy were right beside us. We kept trying to get Billy to snap his fingers because we're convinced that he's Thanos, because he's that big, and we're trying to see if the universe ends or if things go back to 1950 because you're able to go back in time. I don't know, but we couldn't get Billy to snap his fingers but we're convinced he's Thanos. Because he's that freaking big. How do you age backwards like that? I'm not 100% sure. But Road Dogg was there, and Road Dogg's one of the best guys on the planet. I love Road Dogg, and Ron and I have always loved Road Dogg. He is incredibly talented. I remember hearing Vince talk about him and say, I've got big plans for him, because Road Dogg, he's a brilliant guy. There's certain guys that can look at something and just be able to figure out what you need as far as wrestling and storylines. Michael Hayes is like that. Bruce is like that. Road Dogg is like that. That's a pretty rare trait. I'm talking about three guys that I've known over, 35 years. It's not a very big group. And Road Dogg has done an incredible job. He's an incredibly talented guy. and he didn't appear to be happy. And sometimes you get in a corporate world, things change, and you think, yeah, I don't really want to do this. I've been there. And sometimes you grab your hat and shake your hand and walk out. And that's what he did. And good for him. I'm very happy for him. I have no doubt that Road Dogg is going to be successful in whatever he does. I think it's going to be wrestling, obviously, but I think where somebody's going to snatch him up. He's way too freaking valuable. I mean, there's only a few guys in the world that can do what he does. I'm telling you, Conrad, when you sit there and talk to Road Dogg, it's like talking to Michael Hayes or Bruce. And you sit there and talk to them, and you tell them a story. And next thing you know, they've come back with, okay, we'll go this for pay-per-view, then we'll go this pay-per-view. They outline a 6-month storyline off the top of their head. Few people can do that. And it's a very rare trait. And Road Dogg's, he's a very valuable guy. He's a good guy. And I'm happy for him. He seemed happy. We still couldn't get Billy to snap his fingers to see what would happen with the universe, but he's a very happy guy.
I do want to get your opinion on, I don't know that you keep up with this, but online there was a lot of negativity around Road Dogg. They say that, oh, he's failed in WWE creative and he added nothing and they need to throw everyone out. And well, I saw a scene in the WWE reality show Unreal, and he had an idea that he didn't like and he disagreed with. And when Hunter pushed back, he didn't have any answers. Road Dogg sucks. It's like, wow, how can we take just a snapshot of a meeting completely out of context? We're not seeing the totality of it. And now we've decided, oh, this guy sucks at creative. He's ruining WWE. It's like, how unfair is that?
Yeah. And look, this is such bullshit. Smart guys think out loud sometimes. Smart guys think, with their voice, and they allow you inside in their brain. And what I saw with that clip was what Road Dogg was doing. He would say, I don't like this. Well, what do you think? I don't know. He hadn't got there yet. I've seen guys do this a lot, and these guys that are out there that are talking about Road Dogg didn't do a good job, man, fuck you. It's just bullshit. These guys are selling out arenas all over the world, making more money than we never dreamed that people would make money like this. And Road Dogg was one of the guys behind it. Look, I can tell you all the things that Vince failed with. I can also tell you that Vince bought a company from his father for $1 million and sold it for $9.3 billion and somehow retained control. That's Game of Thrones shit, Conrad. But
yeah.
Do you fail a lot? Absolutely. When you got 52 weeks a year live, no reruns, do you think you're going to make some mistakes? I would hope so, because if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying. This isn't a TV episode show where you can do 13 episodes and you film it, you put it in a can. Then if you don't like it, you go back and edit it. This is live. And you're talking with people who may or may not deliver what you're thinking they're going to deliver. And sometimes they do something that is out of not what they're supposed to do. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't work, you get the blame for that too. I mean, there's a lot of things going on. Like, I love AAA. And I love working down there. I think it's the hottest show in the world right now. And I've said that many times. But it's a lot easier what they're doing when you're filming an hour a week and you've got great stars as compared to filming 50 hours a week, whatever WWE does. And you got great stars there too. But it's not even hardly the same business. It's tough to do what they've done. And I think Road Dogg did an excellent job. And those guys who are complaining about it, man, fuck you.
Let me ask you about another quote from Road Dogg. He was a quote machine here. One of the things he said, and I know that we can't spend much time on it, but he said a phrase that I really liked. He said, it didn't feel like the wrestling business anymore. It felt like business wrestling. And I think a lot of people are sharing that sentiment. They felt like this year's WrestleMania just felt different than. And some of that is because of the corporate sponsorship and the success of WWE and specifically TKO. But that's here to stay. Like, that's the way of the world. And I think for years and years, wrestling has been under monetized, especially when you take a look at sponsorship opportunities for traditional sports like football and basketball and things like that. But when we're just talking about the confines of the wrestling business itself, he was on record talking about AEW and specifically how WWE saw AEW and maybe how they see it now. Here's the quote. Road Dogg was asked if the WWE offices felt like they were in a battle with AEW, and Road Dogg says, no, we didn't. And we probably should have, to be quite honest. Instead, I think it was looked at like, oh, that's this other little money marks company, end quote. I honestly think that's how it was kind of looked at. I would argue, however long we are into their tenure, that was wrong to be looking at it that way. They're still here. They're still strong. I would argue they're getting stronger. I don't pretend to know how anyone views another corporation, but I know that anytime you see an internet wrestling journalist report that, hey, WWE has counter programmed an AEW event, they're always going to take the side of, well, they're intentionally trying to counter program them. Like, that's a negative thing. I think it's great for competition. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. But I also know that sometimes the response might be, oh, that was just coincidence. We were going to run a show that day anyway. Who knows what's true or not? But do you think at any point, maybe people inside the tent of WWE assumed that AEW would be a flash in the pan? For years and years, it felt like so many times we would hear, well, there's this mysterious billionaire from a foreign country who's going to start this monster new wrestling company, and they're going to have television on prime time. Nothing ever came to fruition. AEW was an idea, and it seems to be sustaining. I mean, here we are 7 years in. Do you think at any point WWE underestimated that?
I don't know, because I wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because of the counter programming. I mean, you look at what they've done, and when AEW would have an event, and all of a sudden WWE would find a way to put some event at the same time or the same day or something. That to me doesn't sound like they're underestimating them. Now maybe they are, because I was not in the room, and Road Dogg was. But when you look at the what they're doing, they are showing them the respect of, hey, we're gonna kind of program you. We're gonna figure out a way to try to make sure you don't gain market share. And you've seen that, Conrad. I mean, for the last couple of years. I mean, some real efforts. I mean, this Conrad, this is going on in the wrestling business forever. You know, when Vince would start taking over the world, you go into Oklahoma, Watts would put on a free show or a big show right at the same time to try to counter program. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. This is going on forever. But if you learned anything from history, and we all lived it. I mean, the guys in WWE now that were in the wrestling business, we all lived this. So it's pretty big about far as you don't want to underestimate anybody. Not that Vince underestimated WCW. I don't think he did. I don't think Vince underestimated anybody. That's why Vince wouldn't work with people. You look at who Vince wouldn't work with. He had to fight the territories, and he wouldn't work with them. You bring a guy in from the NWA, you bring a guy in from WCW, Vince would beat him because he wanted to show that his guys were better than those guys, because he never underestimated anybody. And then in the early 90s, WCW was on its deathbed, absolutely on its deathbed. They were losing a freaking ton of money. Yeah. Nobody saw this announcer coming out of Minnesota that was going to rejuvenate this company and have one of the biggest corporate turnarounds in the history of the world. Talk about Eric Bischoff. They were kicking our ass. I mean, there's a point there where we're thinking we may be the ones that are going to go out of business. That 83 weeks was legit. And we saw this. We saw this from a company that looked like they were on life support. Like they couldn't draw a dime. They're losing millions of dollars. Does anybody care about that company? That's the company that kicked our ass for a very long time. So I don't think anybody, I say not anybody, I don't think because we live this, that people are underestimating AEW. I don't doubt what Road Dogg says, but when you look at the counter program that's going on and you look at how they're handling competition, I think they're taking the threat very seriously, as they should.
I don't think a lot of people really focus on and appreciate the backstory of Eric Bischoff the way you just lay it out, but really and truly, it's honest when you say, hey, this announcer out of Minnesota from the AWA. I mean,
why in the world would they bet on him? I mean, that makes no sense to me. I mean, you have a guy who's not, he was a salesman, and he's a very charismatic guy. When you talk to Eric, you like him. Yes. But why in the world would you give him control of this company? I mean, whoever did that, I'd love to talk to Eric and find out the person that did that, because there's somebody responsible. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. A lot of times say, oh, they. I don't know. We got to figure out who they are, because whoever did that, that's one of the best decisions in wrestling history. Because when they put Eric Bischoff in charge and they went from losing $10 million a year, 20, whatever it was, to making $100 million a year, that's one of the biggest corporate turnarounds in history. I'd love to see who figured out, hey, let's get this guy from Minnesota and let's put him in charge of all these old wrestling guys. and see what happens. Because whoever that guy is, I'd like to shake his hand and say, "The hell were you thinking?"
He does all of this within the Turner corporate structure too. And people just sort of gloss over that. And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful at all. I'm just trying to make an analogy today. I think everybody would agree back then the AWA was firmly in third position. WWF's the leader, then WCW, then the AWA. So you've got an announcer from the third brand who is now going to lead the charge for the number 2 company and make it the number 1 company. To make a comparison now, it would be like if Tom Hannafin, who was tremendous on TNA,
that's right.
If all of a sudden he's going
to,
and
I love Tom, by the way, but and Tom may be a guy who could be a great executive, but we don't know that. He's just been an announcer. He has not been an executive. Eric Bischoff has said that's a terrific analogy because Eric Bischoff had never been an executive before. And somebody says, I'm going to take this announcer who's really good, like Tom, and I'm going to put him in charge of this $1 billion, this potential, this huge company, and let him run with it. Can
you imagine if I know it's not going to happen. And by the way, I'm throwing no shade to Tom at all. He is phenomenal. I'm just saying he is in the similar spot to where Eric was for the AWA.
To give Tom a little credit. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but we have a text thread that every day we wish Tony Chimmel bad luck like death. And so I think a lot of Tom because he supports me in my effort for Tony Chimmel to pass away.
Can you imagine if 2 years from now we woke up and looked around and we were like, hey, did Tom Hannafin just lead AEW to be the number 1 company in the world and they beat WWE 83 weeks in a row? We would all say, what the f are you smoking? But it happened with Eric Bischoff. It's just crazy.
Yep. That's right.
I love the analogy that you gave there or the explanation you gave, because as a fan, I always wondered, hey, why, whenever somebody comes over from WCW, why is Vince so intent on beating them? Respectfully, I always point to the Sting match and say, why would you have Sting lose at WrestleMania? It feels like that's not what wrestling fans want. We want to go home happy. It's because all these years later, Vince just can't let it go. I need everyone to know that we won, by God.
And it's not only that we won. It's not just spiking the football and saying, hey, we won, look at us. It's also a matter of fact of, hey, we're the best territory, and we always were the best. And so you don't want to go back and say, okay, now could you rejuvenate that? Vince was always about burying competition, 100%. And that was just part of it. So when he brought guys in from the NWA, he brought guys in from WCW, you never know what might happen. Look, understand, WCW was on its deathbed. Bischoff brought it back. Vince never took that chance that something like that could happen. Vince came along, bought his dad's company, and took it and ran everybody else out of business. Vince knows what can happen when some guy comes along and is very ambitious and very smart. And Vince wanted to make sure that didn't happen. So to me, it wasn't just spiking the football. Hey, we won. It's like, hey, we won, and we're going to continue winning.
Well, you're going to feel like a winner with Butcher Box. Grilling season is finally here. And let's be honest, the difference between a good cookout and a great one often comes down to the quality of the meat. I mean, you can have the best grill setup in the world, but if what you're cooking isn't great, man, it shows. And that's why the wife and I have been using Butcher Box. They deliver premium, responsibly sourced meat right to your door. So you're starting with the good stuff every single time. Butcher Box delivers over 100 different premium protein options straight to your door. They've got phenomenal grass-fed beef and everything to like wild-caught seafood. By the way, it's all raised and sourced the right way. Here's what I mean. No antibiotics, no added hormones, no fillers, just clean, reliable protein that you can feel good serving. And especially during grilling season, that quality really matters. Better meat means better flavor, fewer mistakes on the grill, and meals that actually live up to the moment. Whether it's a quick weeknight dinner or a full weekend cookout, plus it's super flexible. You can customize your box based on what you're cooking, and it all ships free with recipes, grilling tips, and exclusive deals. So whether you're a beginner or a grill master, you've got everything you need to make it a great season. And I want to go ahead and give a plug for ground beef. I have to admit, I have always been a steak guy when it comes to Butcher Box. My wife twisted my arm. She wanted us to try the ground beef. Man, it is so much better than what we can get in our store. I mean, next level. And I didn't know that ground beef could be this good. I'm being sincere. I want you to go try it right now with Butcher Box. And as an exclusive offer, new listeners can get their choice between free ribeye or top sirloins for a year or ground beef and bacon for a year, plus $20 off when you go to butcherbox.com/wrestle. That's right. Your choice of ribeye or top sirloins for a year or ground beef and bacon for a year, plus $20 off your first box and free shipping always. That's butcherbox.com/wrestle. Don't forget to use our link so they know we sent you. That's butcherbox.com/wrestle. Hey, so John, you're a big sports guy like I am, and we normally record this show on Thursday. You've got to do a little bit of travel, so we're recording on a Wednesday. But as we're talking right now in the NBA, the Knicks are up 2-1 over the Spurs. And boy, has it come full circle for anybody faster in wrestling history than Danhausen. Danhausen found himself in Madison Square Garden, the most viewed probably moment in NBA history in a long, long time, because the world was paying attention, because it was on absolute lockdown, because the president of the United States was there. And now Danhausen, who's been all over ESPN, he's at the NBA Finals wearing a Knicks jersey. I mean, this is a story like no other. And I know once upon a time there was a saying in wrestling that funny don't draw money. But buddy, sign me up to be Danhausen. I mean, there you see him in Madison Square Garden, shoulder to shoulder with Ben Stiller. What do you make of the Knickshausen, if you will, that Danhausen is on right now?
Hey, we're talking about spiking the football. You and I called it. You and I said this would happen, right?
Yeah.
And we said it would happen, and that Danhausen is going to be at the NBA Finals, and he was here. He did a great job. It's just people love stuff like this, and I don't care where he comes from. Wrestling is huge right now, and this association with ESPN is one of the best deals ever made in the history of professional wrestling. But whether he's from a show, whether he's from Broadway, whatever he has caught fire right now, and the NBA loves this guy, and for good reason. He's really talented. He's good at what he does. And people love the Knicks right now. They got a real problem right now with that big 7-foot-tall Frenchman that's from San Antonio. I don't know what's going to happen tonight by the time this airs, but this could go on a while. And I think Danhausen is going to be a huge part of this. I don't want to give him any advice because sometimes young guys will come to me for advice, and I don't understand the Danhausen character. Now, I kind of have some thoughts about it, but he's doing so great. You don't want to give them advice and then take your advice and get themselves out of what their thought process is that got them over. And so I think he's going to come up with some stuff that works, but you have a new iteration about a curse, about the recurse, about a curse. I think there's some stuff he can do here that's going to be really good. And I think he's going to be a big part. And I think it's huge for him.
I know that this is probably not the route that a lot of professional wrestlers ever imagine. They certainly imagine their wrestling life looking a little different than the way Danhausen's has. Do you think this could create like a boom of other characters that are, I'm not going to say that wrestling is secondary, but it does feel like with the other company, there's a lot of emphasis, much like there is in Japan, on the in-ring work. And it's all about matches. And can we get 5 stars or 6 stars? The match story is always going to be an important piece here. But I think Danhausen has proven that it's not required to be a fan favorite, to be a merch mover, to generate revenue. And I'm curious, do you think this leads to maybe a boom of theater kids and this sort of outside of the box character development? A criticism from a generation ago was, hey, a lot of the new guys coming through WWE look the same. They have similar body types, similar hairstyles. You lost some of the variety that maybe you had back in the day with a guy like Stan Hansen. And I'm not ever going to say that WWE created a factory of those type performers, but there were similarities. Boy, Danhausen stands out because he's so different than another Eric Bischoff motto. Do you think that this creates an opportunity for more, not carbon copies of Danhausen, but outside of the box characters? Will they be welcomed differently now than maybe they would have been a year ago?
Nope. I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because people talk about today, like, you look at the old wrestling, you say, man, I wish we needed like 25 Shawn Michaels today. We didn't have 25. We had one. We had one Eddie Guerrero. We had one Undertaker. They've got one Danhausen. I mean, this guy is unbelievably talented. He's found lightning in a bottle. And when I say, does it open up the opportunity? Yes, perhaps the opportunity. But are you going to see a bunch of Danhausens? And I don't mean exact carbon copies, but look, there are a few guys out there that can do stuff like this. There are a few guys out there like Santino Marella that can sit out there and spin a word and then summon a bitch. There's a few guys like R-Truth that can go out there and create unbelievable comedy with anybody that they're with, because they're very, very smart guys and they're very good at what they do and they have a knack for it. You know, there's a lot of smart guys out there, talking about Road Dogg earlier, but there's very few smart guys that can do wrestling. And there's very few smart guys that can get over like Danhausen. So does it open up the opportunity for more? Yes, it opens up the opportunity for more. Are we going to see a bunch more? I would bet against it. I would, you know, hopefully we do, but there's only a few every single generation that are like this, that get over. And, you know, like George Steele. I mean, we're going to see a bunch of guys come along and eat turnbuckles. And he got over like $1 million freaking dollars, but he was unusual and he was different. So are we going to see a bunch more? I hope we do, but my bet is we don't. Is the opportunity going to be there? Absolutely. But Danhausen and guys like Truth, those guys are diamonds, man. And we need to cherish them and hope that more come along like them. But the odds that more will come along like them are very small.
I think we're all happy for the real life Danhausen. I do want to ask though, do you think that Vince McMahon would have embraced this the way TKO is now? I ask because once upon a time, I know that they did, you know, fun skits with Santino Morello and Truth and other guys, but it felt like they were more in spurts. Man, they are putting the hammer down on Danhausen right now. And I wonder, is that because it's driven strictly by P&L? Hey man, they're buying this. They're buying a lot of it. Let's do more of it. Would Vince have still done that? Or do you think he would have still made it more sporadic like he did with Truth and others?
It's a great question, because I think it depends on when Danhausen came along. You know, if Danhausen came along when the roster is loaded, he probably would not have the view that he has right now as far as the huge spotlight on him. If he came along when we were down and needed talent, yeah, I think it would. I think it was a matter of need. You know, Danhausen has come along at a perfect time. You know, you're after WrestleMania. You know, you're this typical, you know, lull creatively with WWE, and I don't mean that with any disrespect. It's gone on for 30-something years. That's, you know, WrestleMania is the end of your season. Then you start starting over and building new things toward next year's WrestleMania. There's always this lull. He's come along at the perfect time. And if he came along at the perfect time with Vince, yeah, I think he'd be just as big a star. I say just as big. I don't know if, you know, wrestling was as big back then as it is now. You certainly didn't have this ESPN deal. But yeah, I think that Vince would have embraced him very much, depending on what we had at the time. You know, if Stone Cold's just getting hot in selling out arenas, you know, we wouldn't have it. But if you don't, yes, I think you would.
Well, we want to know in the comments below. Let us know. Join the conversation. What do you think? Are we going to see more Danhausen type characters in wrestling? I'm not going to compare the two, but AEW has Orange Cassidy, which is certainly different than and an out there character. I think every promotion could or should have one. So clearly WWE's is Danhausen, maybe AEW's is Orange Cassidy. I can't wait to see what the next opportunity is, but I do hope that we get some outside of the box thinking. And speaking of outside of the box, we asked you guys, hey, if you could ask JBL anything, what would it be? And boy, do we have an outside of the box question to get us started here for Ask JBL Anything. This comes to us from Rob Coakley, and he wants to know, does he know that the first American pro wrestling champion, Evan the Strangler Lewis's dad, was killed by a ghost? And he can provide newspaper articles if interested. And we've got the newspaper articles here. I don't know if you've seen this, but here it is. John Lewis, the father of Evan Lewis, champion wrestler of the United States, known to sports everywhere, was a prosperous farmer living in the vicinity of Ridgeway, a man of sober life, undaunted courage, and possessed of tremendous physical strength. His son has inherited. He was returning home one fall evening, spending the day assisting a friend in butchering. The night was not dark, whatever that means. When he drew near the haunted spot, he determined to cut across the lots to reach his home. He was approaching a stone wall at the roadside to climb it when his attention was arrested by the sight of a figure that seemed to have gathered itself together out of just the now tenantless air and stood confronting him in a menacing attitude. He knew of no enemy, and highwaymen were unknown in that retired quarter of the state. He decided that someone must be trying to frighten him. So he hauled the figure, and no response being given, he advanced upon it. The figure did not budge, but stood a towering shape of blackness, a gigantic and grisly thing. Some unaccountable awe and the uncanny hugeness of the thing made Lewis decide to avoid a conflict, and drawing his butcher's knife from his pocket, he started to pass by when the figure, raising its arm with a forbidding gesture, stepped forth his path. Obeying a hasty impulse that was more a ghastly and soul-chilling fear than it was anger, Lewis let drive his keen knife. Next morning, a neighbor found Lewis lying inside the wall in a semi-conscious condition. Or what happened after he struck with his knife, he had but vague impressions. He said he could have been hurled in the air, as it is in the vortex of a cyclone, pounded, crushed, and into insensibility. He died a few hours after he was carried home, asserting that his dying breath, that he had come to his end by a supernatural agency. Okay, so this feels a little crazy, but it's from 1902. Have you heard this story before?
I have not, and that's the original Evan Strangler Lewis, not the Ed Strangler Lewis that came along later, right, part of Goldust Trio. So there's a couple of Strangler Lewis. I had never heard this story before, that he died by ghost.
I mean,
but apparently he did. See, when I grew up, there was like a little Southern church, and they didn't believe in ghosts. And so he had the preacher. He got up one day and he said, "Listen, nobody believes there's ghosts are not real." And people were like, kind of mumbling. And he goes, "There was an article in the paper about this man said he had sex with a ghost." He goes, "I'm telling you, ghosts are not real. Would you people stop and have some sensibility and some common sense about you?" And he says, "Let me just take a survey here. Has anybody had sex with a ghost?" And this man in the back raised his hand, and the guy looked at him and goes, "You've had sex with a ghost?" And he goes, "Oh, I thought you said goat."
Oh, will you stop? My God. I was hanging in there for a minute.
Well,
do we need a Ghostbuster character in wrestling? Is that the next thing?
Yes, we do. I'd never heard this about Evan Strangler Lewis. That's pretty crazy. I'm glad somebody, whoever dug this up, thank you very much for doing this, because this was really entertaining. I'm going to look into this. I'm going to read into this and try to figure out exactly what happened here with the ghost. It's entertaining. It really is. I'm not being facetious. I love this. I love this shit. This is great.
I hope next week we don't have Tony from Heritage Auctions jump on and he's got some sort of death shroud from a ghost or something here. Shout out to Rob Coakley for this story. I've never heard
Rob,
that
thank you. This was excellent. Thank you very, very much. I got a flight tonight out to Louisville, and I'm going to research this on the flight and read about this ghost.
Here's a great question. And boy, I'm sure you've been asked this a lot. We've all heard the legendary drinking stories of Andre the Giant, and maybe more recently, the Nature Boy himself. But Chris wants to know, how much beer can JBL drink without getting drunk? You're trying to keep it between the ditches. What's the cutoff, John? What do you think?
Oh, not near as many as I used to. For one, I'm not as big as I used to be, and I don't drink like I used to. So, but when I was younger, back in the 90s with Ron, we'd drink a case of beer each, and we would still be functioning. We may be drunk, but we would drink a case of beer each, 20 to 30 beers, and that was a normal night. We drank a lot.
20 beers a night.
Oh yeah. We would drink 20 beers. You ask Teddy Long, he would tell us, he would tell me one time, you had 28 beers. You didn't piss one time, which is unusual. Barry Windham was like that. He could drink forever and not ever go to the bathroom. But I couldn't, but I did. We're driving to Chicago one time and Teddy told me I drank 28 beers.
Listen, I understand when a guy says he can drink 8 or 10 and not have to pee. How do you hold 28 beers?
Don't know, because I'm not the guy that doesn't go to the bathroom. I mean, I like just normal, whatever it is. Once you start going, of course, you got to go all the time. But apparently, we're on the trip listening to music or whatever else, and apparently, I had 28, didn't go one time. And that you can verify that with Mr. Long, our peanut-headed driver.
I do want to ask, when you weren't drinking, well, first of all, let me back that up. What was your beer choice?
Coors Light.
Okay. And if Coors Light wasn't available and they had liquor, your pivot to booze would be.
Yeah, well, not good on liquor. Just I drank it like beer was the problem. I drink whiskey like beer or whatever else. Or guys were always drinking Jack Daniels back then and gargling. I would do it, but I would get drunk off that stuff. But I just didn't get that drunk off beer. I would drink it forever like it was water.
You mentioned the gargling. Was that really a Mr. Perfect thing as far as you can recall? Is that who you've always heard being credited with that? And who's the first person who encouraged you to gargle it?
I don't remember. It happened in Texas somewhere. Hey, gargle this. Guys used to do that back then. And I don't know if it came from Mr. Perfect Kurt or not. Kurt certainly used to do it and would make other guys, not make other guys do it, but, tell them, hey, gargle. You didn't have to. Guys would do it because they didn't care, but I don't know if it came from Kurt or not. It was all over back then. Guys would, hey, here, take you a shot of whiskey, gargle it. You'd watch them gargle it. Guys would drink it, gargle it, spit it up in the air, and and then down it. I mean, guys drank a lot back then. The society's changed. People don't drink like they used to, but man, guys drank a lot back then.
Queen Crusader has a fun question. If you could be a manager for any wrestler in any promotion, indie or major, who would it be and why? So I know you're a WWE guy. So we're going to pretend that whoever you name through time and space, whatever it may be, you're going to manage them in the WWE. So I'm not suggesting you got to jump promotions or jump ship or anything, but is there one talent where you think, man, I could have had some fun with that guy?
Oh yeah, almost. No doubt about it. Almost to me is that guy's. I've watched him down in AAA, how he's been developing, and Undertaker and Jeremy Borash are doing an incredible job with him, along with all the producers they have with him. He's a smart guy, and he's a hell of an athlete. But he is a freaking monster. I mean, just a monster. You got to see almost in person to see how big this man is. And that's if I was going to manage somebody, no doubt about it. that's the guy.
How much of that is just based on your personal height too? Like respectfully, it would be weird if you were managing someone who was a foot shorter than you, right?
Yeah. Colonel Parker, had that problem, and tall managers have that problem. That's why, Baron Corbin was one of the few guys that I could have managed. You sit out there and, I'm 6'6", and in boots, I'm probably 6'7" or 6'8". And, you sit out there with a guy that's 6 foot. I'm half a foot taller than that person, and so it sucks. That's why you want a manager like Jimmy Hart. That's not a person of huge stature that can go out there with these guys and make them, look like monsters. That's why Hillbilly Jim was such a hard manager. He could manage the Godwins, who were huge, but he's still as bigger than them. Of course, he was a different type of manager, but yeah, it's very hard for managers that are tall to find people to be able to manage.
Christopher Peterson has a fun question. He says the Shawn Michaels angle where Shawn was out of money, whose idea was this? And did Shawn want to be poor in storyline? Was JBL excited to work with HBK? Now that would have been fun if you would have been giving financial tips to the Heartbreak Kid on camera. I could have got behind that.
Yeah, it was an honor. When I came back, and I probably shouldn't have, but when I came back and wrestled for a little bit, I got two angles. I got to work with Chris Jericho, and I got to work with HBK, and those are two incredible Hall of Famers, two all-time greats, two friends of mine. So to me, it was worth it coming back just to be able to do that. And by the way, the world owes me, of course, as they do. Because if Shawn Michaels had not beat me, and by the way, his whole family super kicked me. I think his wife super kicked me and punched me. His kids, I got beat up by the whole Michaels family. But if I don't lose to Shawn Michaels, he doesn't go to WrestleMania and wrestle Undertaker and have possibly the greatest match of all time. So the wrestling world pretty much owes me for the greatest match of all time. You're welcome.
Again, you keep doing it everywhere we turn.
That's what I do.
Adam Worthman. Adam Worth wanted to know, how did John feel about the finish when he won the WWE championship? Instant replay was needed to confirm that he won the match. I kind of like that. It has like a sports feel, but you were the guy who's being crowned, but you were a heel. What'd you think?
Oh, I thought it was perfect. I would have never wanted to beat Eddie clean in any way. I think Dusty had talked about, or Bruce or Vince, I think had talked about having a knife to cut the rope and get to it. Man, you couldn't have cut that rope with a freaking chainsaw. It wouldn't have worked. And I'd never seen that done. Now, if you could have found a different way to have a rope, it might could have worked. But I thought that was perfect. I believe that came from Dusty. But yeah, I thought that was absolutely perfect. Eddie did such a great job thinking he had won, and then they give the title to me, and you should have felt the crowd out there. I mean, they were about to cry. It was just awesome. I thought the finish was perfect.
Jason wants to know, right before Stone Cold walked out, you tagged with him a few times. Was there a planned storyline? That's interesting. This is an interesting time for you in your career here. What would that have led to? Do you know if there were any plans? I know you have the Texas commonality. Was there going to be something else?
There was something, and I don't remember exactly what it was. There was something that was planned. I was going to do something with Steve, and I don't remember exactly what it was. And then Steve decided that he didn't want to be in the company anymore, and left, and which is certainly his prerogative. But I don't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, there was something planned there. It was I was snake bit. Steve walked out, and there was something planned. I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something I was going to do with Steve around that time. I was going to do something with William Regal, and he gets sick or hurt or whatever it was at the time. I just kept getting, my God, man, every time I get a chance to break out of something, something happens. I was just snake bit for a while.
Really fun question here from Bobby Rushing. Who would be his dream opponent and who goes over? This is from any era, but whether or not who goes over, let's set that aside. If you could go back in time and space and wrestle anybody, who would it be?
Oh, Magnum TA. No doubt about it. Magnum TA was a big guy like that who was a tough guy. And, like I always say, the original Stone Cold, the first anti-hero in wrestling, kind of like the Freebirds were, kind of like the NWO was. But, he was, I don't know about first, but certainly one of the originators of that. I think Magnum would have been awesome. I would have loved to have had a long program with Magnum.
Jeff Stewart wants to know, given your financial acumen in both real life and in your JBL character, any thoughts of creating a modern $1 million corporation? And if so, who would you want in it? Who would be your Bam Bam or Tatanka or King Kong Bundy or Kama? And who's your Volkov? I like that idea. If you were going to have a $1 million corporation, does anybody stand out on the WWE roster today that you think, hey, putting these guys together would be fun every week?
Yeah, and not only WWE roster, but I'm a big fan of, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. I think those guys would be great in it. I think Chad Gable would be great in it. I think the Creed brothers would be good in it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big, I love what those guys have done. As far as women, wow. I think I'd have to go Jade Cargill. I think she'd fit great. I think she'd fit great into like $1 million corporation type thing. And then, if I have any cabinet at all, R-Truth's in it. Whatever it is, R-Truth is with me, no matter what. If it's a serious thing, if it's a funny thing, I don't care. R-Truth's with me, no matter what.
I can totally see why that would be funny. Sign me up for that. Let's put you guys on screen. Hey, you know what? Sign me up for Dose for Cholesterol too. And if you haven't been looking into this, I want to recommend that you do. My wife and I are doing regular blood panel screenings, and we can tell you we're seeing the results from Dose for Cholesterol. And if you've been concerned about the rising liver health crisis here in America, you probably feel like it's unavoidable to the average American. But if you're hesitant to get on these traditional therapies for cholesterol health, because you don't want to feel like you're stuck taking capsules that you're not comfortable with taking, Dose for Cholesterol is the way to go. What you'll see is there's gentle alternatives with ingredients you recognize, like ginger and pomegranate. Dose for Cholesterol is the real deal. It's clinically backed cholesterol support. It's a supplement that'll help you target your triglycerides, your LDL, your HDL, and your total cholesterol levels. My wife's been a Dose user long before they were an advertiser here on the program. When I told her that they were going to be coming on, she was excited because she knew that this is a product that she believes in. She's in the medical research field. She's done all the heavy lifting. And when she said, "Hey, this is great for everybody," I took her at her word. But I have to admit, I was curious. How can this work into my morning routine? Am I going to remember to do this? And am I going to want to do this? Well, let me go ahead and tell you what I found. It's just a daily 2-ounce liquid shot that tastes like mango. There's no capsules, there's no powders, and it's easy to work into your routine. I can't recommend it enough. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to love the results too. And I also want you to know it doesn't get any easier than Dose for Cholesterol because it gets delivered right to your door. And that makes getting the support you need for your health easy to stick to. And right now, new customers can save 35% off your first month of subscription by going to dosedaily.co/wrestle or entering Wrestle at checkout. That's dosedaily.co/wrestle, and you'll get 35% off your first month subscription. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Mark Ashbridge. He's got a great question here. This is a fun one for you because we've just seen the phenomenal success of Chad Gable and Ludwig Kaiser in AAA, and Mark wants to know, what 2 to 3 WWE guys do you think could benefit from a run in AAA, and how would you use them? So we'll take how would you use them and set it to the side because creative is subjective. But there's probably some talent that you recognize are not getting as many opportunities as they would have hoped because the roster is just so loaded and there's only so much time to go around in WWE land. Are there talents in WWE on the main roster right now that you think, man, they could really benefit from a run in AAA? And who would that be?
Yeah, it'd be somebody that's being left behind. So let me ask you, who do you think's being left behind right now in WWE that has talent? Me, I like the Creed brothers. I love what they've done down there. I think they need a manager, is what I think. I think you could really do some great stuff with them. You know, what you saw with Chad, I mean, you have a guy that's this incredible wrestler. And as I said last week, I think he's the best wrestler in the world. I think he proved that with that mass versus mass match. That was just phenomenal. But if you don't have something like AAA, you never see that side of him. I mean, you've seen him have great stuff, but I mean, nothing that is legendary that people are going to talk about for 20 years. So sometimes people just need opportunities. As we talked about last week, who do you think is being left behind that has talent out there?
Well, I hate to be that guy, but I would think Johnny Gargano would do phenomenally well down there. I think a guy like Grayson Waller could do well down there.
Yeah, I love that.
A few years ago, I probably would have said Finn Balor, but it feels like he's getting some opportunities. Dragunov, I think, could do well down there. There's a lot of guys on the main roster that I think, hey, if we just had a few more opportunities, and I know that those are hard to come by right now because there's only so much TV time. But in AAA, we've seen there's some talent that's sitting around in WWE that can hit an absolute freaking home run, like Kaiser and Gable just did.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think that there's some guys that are around. I've seen it. I saw a guy, Will Allday, down in Texas, works for 360 Pro, is one of Booker's guys. I mean, that young man is freaking phenomenal. I wish he was down in AAA right now. They've always had some type of heartthrob. He's a good-looking young guy, a great body. I think he might fill that role. I don't know if he would or not. You never know until they get into that character and see. But I think Will Allday would do great down there. Look, when I was in TNA, that Josh Alexander, to me, I mean, that's the guy.
Oh, yeah.
That guy's freaking world class, man. I mean, he's unbelievable. He's like Chad. He can do anything. That Speedball Bailey, I haven't seen him since he's gone to AEW. Man, what a talent he is. In WWE, I agree with you. I think Gargano could do incredibly well down there. And I've always thought Kazarian out of TNA.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Should be somewhere else. Not that TNA, he does a great job at TNA, but I think there's some talent there in WWE that you never know what's going to happen until you give them a chance. And as you saw with Chad Gable.
Yeah, I think JD McDonough might be another guy. He's been framed a certain way.
Conrad, he's awesome.
Yes.
I didn't know much about him until I saw him work down there in AAA. That JD McDonough is freaking fantastic. I mean, he is really freaking good. I know I saw him and Corey Graves kind of got into a tiff on social media, probably at work. I have no idea. Don't care. So when I was down there kind of watching him, I thought, this kid's amazing. He's really good at what he does. And of course I love Finn Balor. I think Finn can do absolutely anything. I wish Demonito would come back down to True. I thought it was a great character.
We're all doomed.
We're all doomed.
I know that he's enjoying a tag title run right now, but it does feel like a lot of that faction has been snake bit. I think Austin Theory may be somebody who could get hot.
Yeah, I agree with Austin Theory. And to get back to Grayson Waller, I've always liked Grayson Waller. I think that young man can talk. He's a smart guy. He can work. He's got a great look about him. And there's something about the accent, that helps you. In different countries. I think Grayson Waller would do a fantastic job down in AAA.
I'm going to throw two more out that I know a lot of people are maybe not going to agree with or get, but I still think there's an opportunity. And for whatever reason, it doesn't feel like they're being at their highest and best use right now. And that's Damian Priest and Sheamus. I think both of those guys have a lot of gas left in the tank. And I think WWE fans watching the main roster have seen them framed a certain way. But coming down there as former WWE champions, boy, that carries a lot of weight anywhere, certainly in Mexico. And it would immediately boost those guys, in my opinion. Am I wrong?
No. And I think that's one of the great things about the relationship with AAA is someone like Sheamus. Sheamus is that guy. I've always been a fan of Sheamus, personally and professionally. Sheamus will be perfect down there. Sheamus can work. Sheamus doesn't mind getting heat. He can be a great heel. I think Sheamus would do great stuff down there. I mean, good Lord, as they say, take my money now. I would love to see Sheamus come down there. And Damian Priest as well. He's got a terrific look. By the way, they've done a great job with Omos down there. I mentioned him earlier. Omos is a guy that I'm telling you, that guy is going to sell out buildings at some point in his career. I'm not sure when it's going to be. And I don't say that because he needs to get there. I think he's there. It's just a matter of when they put that gasoline on him.
Yeah, it's just timing. So much of wrestling is timing. I mean, I hope that if nothing else, we're reframing the way fans feel about some talent that has been deemed mid-card. Man, there wasn't nothing mid-card about Kaiser and Gable. It was just the right time, and it was all timing.
They just needed an opportunity, and that's the good thing about AAA.
Yes. Interesting follow-up question here from Mark. Could you see a WWE /AAA /TNA /NOAH supercard happening? Now, this comes to us because later this month, we know on the other channel, AEW is doing Forbidden Door, and they're doing it with a Japanese partner and a Mexican partner. I would freaking love to see AAA, WWE, TNA, and NOAH and present it as a supercard of all these different promotions. But do you think that's realistic, John?
Yeah, I do. I think they're doing stuff that's completely out of the box that Vince wouldn't normally do. Vince was so busy about, he came from a different era, when you had to fight through the territories. Those territories aren't there anymore. And there's not that competition like there is. So did he use something like this show, this super show that you're talking about? I've always thought a super show out there could do incredibly well. I mean, remarkably well. I know AEW runs a couple of years and they do very well. But I think WWE could do that as well. And I think you could build something out there. But to see the crossover between NOAH and AAA and these great stars also in TNA, I think there's some really good stuff you could do. And do I think it would work? Yeah. Do I think they will do it? I think there's a chance. I think there's a good chance that they might. I have no backstage knowledge of anything out there, but I think there's a chance.
Double Axe Handle Smash Podcast wants to know, John, do you have any Bobby Duncombe Jr. road stories or ribs?
Yeah, I love Bobby. Bobby was such a good dude. Me and Bobby lived together up in Garland, Texas. We lived past the hood. They, as Dick Murdoch used to say, they check you for guns going to our house, and if you don't have one, they give you one because we're in such a bad place. Bobby and I lived in a freaking hood out in Garland, and we couldn't afford anything else. We had so much fun together. Bobby was a wonderful human being. We went to Japan one time, and Bobby had played for University of Texas. He was a 4-year starter. He was a great football player, 4-year starter at UT. That's pretty impressive. But his class never beat Oklahoma. So, and Bobby, brother, it was something sensitive. You didn't bring that up to Bobby. Booker T drove that man so freaking nuts. Bobby in the middle of Japan told the driver to pull over so he and Booker could fight. God almighty. And Booker's just messing with him like, oh my God. Yeah, Bobby was one of the most fun guys on the planet. Bobby was just a good dude.
Got another fun one here. This is from Adam Worth. And boy, this is going to be a tough one. Well, maybe not for you. If John were forced to go back in time and remove one part of his career, would he choose APA or JBL? So one's got to go. Is it APA or the JBL, Rowan?
I stay with APA.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Ron Simmons, and that's worth more than its weight in gold. And, my friendship with Charles Wright, Godfather, who's on our show. And, I got to have some great friends. And if I was just JBL, don't know if I'd have those great friends, but because I was part of the APA, I did. So I'll trade that every single day of the week and twice on Sunday.
KC has a fun question. He wants to know, what type of man was Joe Pedicino, and how was it working with him when John first started out in the GWF? That's a Global Wrestling Federation.
Yep. I never knew him. And to my knowledge, I don't think I ever met him. I heard so many stories about him, some good, some bad, but I don't know the truth of him. And I don't know what kind of person he was, because he had left. I mean, literally right before I got down there, Pedicino had left and didn't come back. And so I never got the chance to meet him.
Mark Oates wants to know, in his opinion, who grew the better new Blackjack's mustache, himself or Barry Windham? In all seriousness, I'd like to know if, when they were given the new Blackjack's gimmick, did he have any hope that it might get over?
Well, I've got the Blackjack boots and I forgot to put them up. Conrad, you told me to do that, and I didn't do it. So I do have them in the garage because I found the Austin Hall boots. I think I had the better mustache. I think. I'm pretty sure I did. Now, Barry was the better worker, obviously. Do I think it was going to get over? Yeah. I grew up watching. I say grew up. Barry's not that much older than me, but because I was in college at the time, he was on TV. That I was, watching Barry. Barry is one of the greatest workers of all time. And did I think it was going to work? Absolutely. I was surprised when it didn't.
I loved the way you would get the points on your mustache. Were you using some sort of hair product to do that? What's the trick to getting a mustache to point?
Yeah, it's that like Butch's wax or whatever it is.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
a certain wax that you have, and I would sit there and I had the Raleigh fingers going, at one point where the whole thing would, I didn't know I could grow a mustache like that. When I was in college, I used to shave all the time, trying to, because I looked so young, trying to grow a beard, and I never could. And then all of a sudden I tried to grow a mustache, and the damn thing, I was like freaking Zebekiah. I could grow one like crazy.
Yellow Skunk 1225 says, who does JBL wish he got to feud with during his career that didn't happen? So we talked about the guy you could have had a series of matches with that didn't happen way back when in time and space. I'm talking about Magnum TA, but that kind of predates your run into the business. Was there anybody you looked across the locker room and thought, hey, one day, and it just never happened?
Yeah, I never got a chance to work that much with Brett. I think I worked a tag team. I think I did. I'm not sure, but I'm sure people will check me, and I hope you do. I would love to have worked with Brett, because Brett was so freaking good. I mean, just so awesome. I would love to have had a chance like that. Sid was such a great presence. I'd love to have more of a chance with Sid. As far as guys around that time, Dusty was already kind of, retired. I'd love to have had a run with Dusty. I mean, he is so charismatic and can talk so well. I would love to have had a run with Dusty. As far as any other guys, I got to work with almost everybody that was in WWE at the time. I didn't get to work with any of the WCW guys, obviously, because I never worked there, until they came over later. But I got to work with almost everybody that was from the 90s and 2000s, and even a little bit later when I did just a little during that time period.
I think, according to Cage Match, the only time you were in the ring with Brett was, believe it or not, in a 20-man battle royal in December of 96 over in Dubai. And that was Bret Hart getting a win over Aldo Montoya, Barry Horowitz, Bob Holly, Crush, Farouk, Henry O. Godwin, Justin Bradshaw, Mankind, Owen, Phineas, Rocky Maivia, Austin, Sid, Bulldog, Executioner. How about that? Terry Gordy over there. The Stalker, The Undertaker, TL Hopper, and Vader. So yeah, that is crazy that you never had a singles match with Brett. That's interesting.
No, Brett was the top guy, and I was just kind of coming in as Justin Hawk Bradshaw, and then part of the Blackjack. So I was never on the level of Brett, so I never got a chance to work with him. Al Perez would have been a lot of fun. I always thought Al Perez was a great worker down in Texas. I would have loved to have had a run with Al Perez.
Here's a fun one, and maybe this is the most fun question we're going to get today. I know you're going to love it. Clay Kennedy has a great question. We may need to print it and frame it and hang it behind your desk.
Clay Kennedy's good.
Gerald Briscoe and Michael Hayes. You got to marry one, sleep with one, and kill one. It's F, marry, kill with Bruce, Briscoe, and Hayes. What say you?
I'm going to kill all of them.
Okay.
Every damn one of them. Absolutely. I ain't sleeping with none of them. I ain't marrying none of them. I'm killing all of them. And Chimmel.
Okay. We're adding bonus death. So everybody dies. Shout out to Tracy Smothers. SJC wants to know, on his many trips to Iraq with the WWE for tribute to the troops, what was the setup like? What were the security briefings like? Were they ever put in a spot where they were worried about their safety?
No, we got shot at a few times, but we're look, I don't want to state what something happened and risk embellishing anything. We were taken care of by the greatest military in the world. Those guys took incredible care of us. Yeah, we got mortared during a performance one time. I was out there with Al Snow and Carrie Turner, the actress, and we got mortared and had to run in the bunker. And of course, we were all scared. But we got shot at one time coming across Baghdad in a helicopter, and I'd fallen asleep, and I'm in the helicopter, and the light goes off right by the freaking window, and I thought we had been hit, but that was our flare, deflecting, the deflecting what they were shooting at, and I didn't know it was our own stuff, but I thought we had been hit. I thought we were going down. I was waking up pretty afraid, and I was there in Afghanistan. We got mortars a lot of time to where we were staying, but I don't ever feel like we were in danger of getting killed. I know it sounds bad. Those are real bullets. Those are real mortars. Those are real guns that were being fired. We're out there with the U.S. military. They're taking great care of us, and they're not taking any risk as far as us. They were really good with us. So I don't ever feel like there was a time that I thought, oh my, I could die today. It never occurred to me.
Last question before we get to a very special segment. Stay tuned. Coming up, we've got a find that you won't believe, and we've still got a special guest on Curtain Jerkers. What a loaded show this is. But this is a fun question here, John. Mario wants to know, was there ever any consideration of having JBL do a stint in the rebooted ECW? This would have went down from 06 to 10. And I know it's not quite the same thing, but I don't think you ever wrestled in the quote unquote ECW arena, did you?
No, I don't think I ever did. I obviously did the one night stand and, the other pay-per-view, where I got a lot of heat from the ECW crowd, but there was no talks of me ever coming in there. It wasn't, I thought we did a really poor job with ECW, the reboot. We didn't hold true to what ECW was. And because of that, we weren't running like ECW arenas. If we'd been running the ECW arena, it had been a true reboot. I think it made a lot of sense for me to come in and be a heel. King was a great heel. Jerry Lawler was a great heel before me with ECW. But since there wasn't really a lot of reason for it. And as far as I know, there was never any talk about me being in the reboot of ECW.
Can you imagine? I know that ECW wasn't really running by the time you had developed the JBL character, but if you go back to the original ECW, can you imagine any more heat than half of our podcast network? Eric Bischoff walking in the ECW arena in 97, 98 would have been riots. Yeah. And the idea that you could have had a guy like the Double J character, Jeff Jarrett, showing up in the ECW arena, or the JBL character, you guys' heads would have been on sticks. It would have been phenomenal.
Oh yeah, it'd have been awesome. Even in 04, 05, whenever it was, when I did their ECW reboot, they told me don't walk to the crowd. Of course, I did walk exactly what I said, because I thought this place riots. We're gonna get it on film. This is awesome. But yeah, to been out there in that ECW, I didn't understand how great ECW was until we did that one night stand, because we're working every night. And so no offense to any other wrestling program, we didn't watch anything. We didn't watch our own show. We're working every single night. And so I didn't get a chance to see ECW. I walked out there in 04, and as soon as I got out there, I thought, this is what it's all about. This is cool. I mean, I understand now the passion, but man, that'd have been fun to be a heel in ECW back in the 90s.
Well, it makes me think of another story. We'll do it another day. But once upon a time, you had an idea around All In of doing something with Cody, and I think we should do a deep dive on that some other time.
Yeah.
But right now, we've got a very special guest coming up, and we've got maybe the most cool find you're going to see this freaking year. I'm so personally excited. Stay tuned. All right. So by now, everybody listening to this knows about the clothesline from hell, but what about the erection from hell? The future of erectile function is here. Blue Chew Gold is changing the way millions and millions of men are having sex in 2026. They've got this new arousal boosting formula that'll combine passion and performance into one tablet, and it dissolves under your tongue for super fast onset. Think of this as like a hot tag for your wiener. There's no more waiting for a pill to kick in. No more moments ruined by performance anxiety. Just the results you want when you want them. You see, most ED meds only focus on blood flow, but Blue Chew Gold goes a step further. They combine 2 ingredients for blood flow with 2 for mental arousal and connection. So you're not just physically ready, you're actually in the mood. This is the type of innovation that makes Blue Chew Gold the #1 brand in erectile function. Now listen up, the process is simple, and better yet, it's all online. Get started today at bluechew.com and go for the gold. Turbocharge your love life and make it easy to get hard. Discover your options at bluechew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Right now, when you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get the 3rd for free when you use our promo code Wrestle. That's promo code Wrestle. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. Hey, John, I got... John, it's my favorite segment of the show. It's Wrestleworth. Think of it like Antique Roadshow for wrestling. If you've got something on your man cave shelf and you want to know, hey, what's that worth? Send it to us. We want your pictures. We want your stories. We'll feature it here on Something to Wrestle. It's easy. Just email wrestleworth@gmail.com. Send us your pictures. Send us your stories. And we have uncovered some absolutely monumental finds. Last week, John, we found out about the river belt. Remember that belt that Steve Austin threw off the bridge into the river just so The Rock couldn't have it way back in 1997? Well, someone fished it out. We found it here, and we got a valuation from Heritage Auctions, our pal Tony, and I'm proud to report it's going to be in the auction this August. You can own the river belt. What's that going to be? Is that a 6-figure belt? I can't wait to see. But, John, I think we've got even bigger news this week for an old school guy like me and you. Let's welcome him into the show. Your friend and mine, Tony from Heritage Auctions. Tony, man, how are you?
Doing great. A lot of traveling lately, but a lot of consignments coming in, working on a lot of things, a lot of wrestling items. We did pick up the Gorgeous George robes, so those will be coming in. They were dropped off at our Beverly Hills office yesterday, so those will be featured in our Platinum Night sale in August, along with the belts. And yeah, I mean, it's really turned into something special here.
The original Gorgeous George.
Yes.
We've showed those robes here on the program, John. I don't know if you remember, but a couple of months ago, a listener found them, sent the pictures in, and now they're headed to an auction in August. Like, this is fantastic, John.
So, Tony, I do remember the segment, but I don't remember what you thought they would be worth. What do you think they're going to come?
We're going to do an estimate of, I believe, $80,000 a piece.
Oh my God,
because he's one of the, I don't want to say founding fathers, but he's a guy who really kind of got wrestling on the map a little bit, and he was the ultimate heel.
They said he sold more TV sets than Milton Berle. They called him Georgie sets. He sold so many freaking TV sets. Greatest heel of all time, him or Yusuf Ismail. He changed culture. I mean, Gorgeous George was the man. I wish he hadn't had such problems with the booze, because I'd love for that guy to have been around for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, you don't really see much of his material. There's not even a lot of autographs of him out there.
No.
So to have a major piece from from him, and the nice thing about his robes, he was a little over the top for that time. So
wait a minute, he was a little over the top. A little. They wouldn't even let him come into territories. They hated the boss who knew it was a work wouldn't let him come into territories. They didn't like him so enough. They thought he was too over the top.
It's going to be interesting though to see what these sell for, because there hasn't been much of his material that's ever sold. So having such a significant piece to sell, it's going to be really fun to see what it sells for and the action that it's going to generate.
So, Tony, when is the Gorgeous George auction and where is it going to be?
So this is going to be our Platinum Night auction, August 22nd and 23rd. We are going to be at the National Sports Convention in Chicago and at WrestleCon, having items on display. So it'll be with the Hogan belt. It's going to be with all of our wrestling material. So it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited for it because, you know, most of the stuff that sells, you're looking at 70s, 80s. We're going all the way back on this one, and I'm very curious to see the vintage market and having such a name like that too. That's going to sell. Like I said, I know a couple pieces that are in private collections, but I've never seen anything of his, especially since the memorabilia has exploded. It's going to be fun. That's
pretty cool. Chief Don Eagle was the one that George double-crossed. They're not sure if he was in on it or not. They probably was, but that was in Chicago when they were trying to undercut Chief Don Eagle, and they brought George in to do it because George didn't care. It's pretty cool. And by the way, Tony, I don't have heat with you, but I got heat with Conrad because right when you come in, Conrad said, "This is my favorite segment." I've been alone on this show with Conrad for an hour. And the minute you come on, he goes, "Oh, this is my favorite segment."
Oh, Lord.
What a dick! Oh, you, Tony Conrad.
My head is exploding here right now.
Oh my God! As soon as you come on, my favorite segment is Tony. I love Tony. Oh my goodness!
I had to pay him to say that, though. I had to pay him to say that.
Well, I'm excited to be here because I know I have the inside scoop, John, and I have to admit what Tony has found. And maybe it's been a part of this process we've been doing together here where we've been creating content around these items. I have been chasing one particular belt since I first started belt collecting back in either 2012 or 2013. And I mean, I've looked high and low and I've heard all the rumor and innuendo. There's been threads about this on Reddit and on message boards, and it's been discussed forever. People love the golden era of Jim Crockett Promotions. I'm talking specifically 84, 85, 86, maybe even 87. But a lot of people consider that the peak of their fandom. And of course, a lot of that is because they were on the Superstation. Ted Turner was cable before cable was cool. The WWF had syndicated shows, but on a Superstation like this, it was appointment viewing, especially here in the South. If you grew up on Braves baseball, you know what I'm talking about. And I don't know if it's a coincidence, but we just recently sold through Heritage Auctions last month the 1991 WCW United States title made by Reggie Parks, but it replaced the belt that I can't believe this is real. Tony has found. This is the 1986 NWA United States Championship. It was used until 1991, and it was a pretty doggone famous angle. I'm sure everyone listening to this remembers when superstar Billy Graham famously destroyed Bob Backlund's WWF heavyweight title. Well, that was back in September of 82. But fast forward to April of 91, and Nikita did it the exact same way. He didn't want Lex Luger to run around as the U.S. champion anymore. So he took the title belt and he broke it over the ring post. And when I say he broke it over the ring post, I mean it. And the rumor and innuendo is that this was on display in the lobby of the CNN Center for years and years at a little sports bar they had called Jocks and Jills. And then when that business went under, the belt disappeared and no one has seen it since. That's the legend. But Tony, you've got a picture of the belt today. I can't believe this is real. It's resurfaced, and sure enough, it's cracked right down the main plate. How cool does that look, John?
That is awesome. What a great piece of history. This is one of the cool things. And I see now why this is your favorite segment, because obviously you love Tony. But you like belts too. So I think it's awesome. I'm not so sure about Tony. We now have heat.
Well, the history of this belt is amazing. I think everybody remembers Magnum TA, and Magnum TA is a guy who a lot of people believe, had it not been for the car crash, he was going to be the Hulk Hogan for Jim Crockett Promotions, right, John?
Absolutely. He was a Stone Cold before Stone Cold. He was the first like anti-hero. Right when the world kind of changed, when the guy in the white hat was no longer the good guy. When Clint Eastwood started playing the kind of this dark character, when Rambo comes along, that was Magnum TA. It was also at the very same time. He would have been NWA champion for a really, really long time. Certain things you hate happen because of injuries and things. Shawn Michaels being hurt in the late 90s robbed us of so many great matches with Stone Cold, with The Rock. Same thing with Magnum TA getting hurt in the late 80s. I mean, the matches they could have had with Barry Windham, the matches he could have with Dusty. I mean, it was just unbelievable what could have happened. It's one of the biggest what ifs in wrestling.
A lot of people believe, myself included, that he was on a collision course with Ric Flair for the world title, but this title was really raised up a notch or two because they did a best of 7 series with Nikita Koloff and Magnum TA, and it was over this particular title. And this, of course, is the last title that Magnum TA would ever have after that horrific crash in October of '86. But as we all recall, now Dusty's hand was kind of forced creatively. What do we do to fill this void? They turned Nikita Koloff, the Russian, into a babyface in 1986. And so along the way, of course, Dusty would hold this title as well. And you talk about rarefied air. There's not a ton of guys out there who can say they have a Dusty Rhodes title, and especially when it's one from maybe the peak of Jim Crockett Promotions. So this is a belt that was held by Magnum TA, Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, Barry Windham, Stan Hansen, who I know is near and dear to your heart, John, and of course, maybe most famously, Lex Luger, because he was the last holder before this belt is shattered. I mean, the history on this one and the time period, this checks every box for my fandom. Tony, do you have any backstory on where this belt has been? And can you confirm it is going to be in the auction in August? And hypothetically, what do you think it's worth?
Hey, and Tony, right before you do, real quick, it's the 40th anniversary of that incredible 7 series, the best of 7 series. We just did a big segment, a big show on Stories of Briscoe and Bradshaw about it with Nikita and Magnum on the show. It's really cool to hear them talk about it. And, that's the belt. But that's, man, to hear their story about how wild it was and how big it was the time. Dusty's the one that came up with this. A lot of times, Dusty would use common culture to bring things in, but Dusty looked at the NBA, looked at baseball, and that's when he created the best of 7 series. But it's around the 40th anniversary, right now from this incredible best of 7 series.
Yeah, I mean, this belt was located in a box. I think what it was when that restaurant went out of business. I think they just boxed the things up, and it was unearthed in the New Jersey area, I believe.
Wow.
And the whole thing about this is transportation of it, because we had to get one of our Heritage employees to drive out to meet the consignor, because we don't want this thing can't really be shipped. So we took possession of the belt, and we're actually putting it on a truck and driving it back to Dallas, because if that thing got bounced around at all, if that thing got damaged anymore, it could be, it would be terrible. It does show some, it has that major crack in it, but it's in pretty good shape, I would say, for going through what it went through. And anytime you've got a piece like that where you can see Koloff banging it against the ring post, and you've got that visual, it's a big deal. And you're right, there's so much history behind this belt that when I heard about it, anytime there's an inquiry about a belt, Conrad's the first one that I usually reach out to, because he's got more knowledge than anybody else that I know on belts. And he was shocked, and when he was shocked, I was really excited then. And I can't wait for this one to really hit the auction block. And I think the estimate's 60,000 right now because of the condition of it, but this thing could hit 6 figures. It wouldn't shock me, especially now with the way wrestling has really taken off.
Hey, Tony, you talk about the condition of it. Is that because isn't that the value in it?
It is somewhat. And a lot of times on these pieces, if that thing was all the way through and was splitting, that would be a big deterrent. But this one, that crack, it doesn't appear to be all the way through, so it still presents well. And this is a case where having it, having that huge crack isn't going to be a big difference. It does give it some personality. It's going to resonate with people. I think, seeing him crack the belt, but yeah, it does help the case. Sometimes when things get damaged to, where, things are falling apart, that's a really big deal. Like let's take, for instance, the Michael Jordan game worn shoes of the early 90s. Those air pockets on the shoes basically crumble now. So in that instance, it kind of hurts the value. But in this instance, it's not gonna kill the value because it's not all the way through and it shows good wear, but it's not falling apart.
Tony, I can't believe I'm hearing this, but this is not a rib. I'm being sincere.
Mm-hmm.
Can I make a $60,000 full price estimate offer right now? And this not good offer?
I wish I could. I wish I could do that. We have
right
that
now.
happen a lot where people just want to buy it outright, but unfortunately, it's consigned, but it'll be in the auction, and I hope you win it. I would love to see it come home to you.
Tony, can I make a $60,500? I'm pretty hot about Conrad saying this is his favorite segment of the damn show.
We're just putting money here, guys.
I'll be honest. I'm shocked to hear that it's a $60,000 estimate. Like that feels like an incredible value. My offer is sincere. I hope you'll at least consider passing it along. You guys can make this condition. I'm all for it.
And Tony, I think the cracking it's what brings it value. I mean, to me, I mean that's if it's a nice pristine belt, I get it. People like that. But God, the history of this thing. I mean, he breaks this damn thing on the ring post. That's the whole value to me. The whole value, and not the whole value. The belt is very valuable by itself, but that's the biggest part of the value is that crack in the thing. And then you're right. Thank God it's all the way done because then you'd have to kind of paste it back together and put it together. But since it's not, I mean, what a great story. You put the thing up on your wall in your man cave, and people come in and go, what the hell is that? And you start explaining it to it. You show them this picture, which you probably would put underneath the belt itself when you put it in display. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Let me give you some context to why I think this belt has so much value too, John. I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to make sure everybody can sort of wrap their head around this. Certainly, Lex Luger held a lot of other titles, and Barry Windham held a lot of other titles, and those are significant reigns. But the Magnum story, I mean, he was going to be, the guy, and this is his belt, and this is the last belt he held. And it was involved in that fabulous angle where they destroy the belt with Nikita, and both of those have a lot of value. But if you're a hardcore belt collector, the first person you think about, or the first belt you think about when you think of Stan Hansen, is probably the AWA world title. Don't you agree, John?
Yeah, I would agree. Yes. Yeah. And I'd love to have that. Oh my God. Hey, talk about finding a lost belt. The AWA title that Stanton beat up with the tractor.
That's the one I'm talking about. Yes. Well, here's
that's the one. Yeah.
That sold to a private collector over 20 years ago for what was sold to be hundreds of thousands of dollars over in Japan.
So Tony, let me Stan and I are really good friends, as Mr. Briscoe was Stan. So we had him on our show, and Stan, is always kind of kayfabe, what happened to the belt. And I said, Stan, so let me ask you a question, because he was denying that he anything that he had to do with the belt. And I said, so the rep rumor is you ran over it with your truck. He said, no, a tractor. He goes, oh, I mean, wait. Oh yeah, we got him on tape. Yeah.
Well, Stan Hansen scared me as a kid. Stan Hansen and Colonel De Beers, those two.
As a kid, you should have been in the ring with him, coming out romping and stomping, knowing he's coming after you.
I mean, he had the chew in his mouth, spitting tobacco, and yeah, as a young kid, I was terrified of Stan Hansen, and now you see him smiling and doing photos and all this, and I'm like, wow, what a change, because I was terrified of the guy. I really was as a youngster.
So were we.
Well, there you go. We know the only other comp, if you will, of a Stan Hansen title was multiples of six figures 2 decades ago. There's no telling what that AWA world title would be worth today, but it's with a private collection in Japan. So respectfully, if you want a Stan Hansen belt, it's slim pickings, but this is a real opportunity. But maybe more than that, Dusty Rhodes, arguably a much bigger star here in America. Let's talk about it. Most people associate Dusty with the 10 pounds of gold. That's on Triple H's wall in Stamford, aka you ain't ever going to see it. He also briefly held the big gold belt in 1986. That's in my collection, and it's not going anywhere. So outside of a 6-man title, I don't really know what else is out there that people could say, hey, I want a Dusty belt. This could be the definitive Dusty belt that is attainable. So if you're looking for one of the only Dusty Rhodes belts that you could possibly get, it's this title, and it's going to be available in August. I think $60,000 is a criminally low estimate. It is a huge value. I am placing a full price offer right now on tape, on the record. I would love to have this as a part of my collection. I can't believe you found it. 2 back-to-back week, John. We see Stone Cold in the Rock's title from the River, and now one of the only Stan Hansen Dusty Rhodes belts you can get, the Magnum TA belt. These are incredible finds, and I'm glad that private collectors are going to have an opportunity for it, John.
Yeah, me too. I see why this is your favorite segment of the show.
Oh, gosh. Will you stop?
I'm excited. I'm excited about this, but I'm also excited about the gorgeous George robes, man. Those, how many robes? I keep going back to those gorgeous. I'm all over the place. So the gorgeous George robes, how many do you have?
There's 2 robes, and then there's the pajamas he supposedly was wearing.
The what?
But when he passed away. Now there's
robes and there's what?
There's supposedly the pajamas he was wearing when he passed away in the hospital.
What? That's pretty sick. What the?
It's a little bit.
Yeah,
I know. We got to do some research and a little bit on that. But
you think?
That's what I was told. They will be, like I said, they were dropped off at our Beverly Hills office yesterday, and then they will be in Dallas soon. So we'll have some nice photos we can share with everybody again, because I know one's gold and I think one's black. So it's I can't wait to see them in person. And the belt should be here very soon as well. What I'll say on the belt is a lot of times we like to do a little lower estimates to get things, to get the action going.
Sure.
So I tend to like to start things a little lower, because you want to get people going. You want to get people thinking they have a chance to win it. And then when it's, the day of the auction is when everybody really goes crazy, and then everybody comes out and really bids. So sometimes we go a little lower on the estimates just to get the action going.
Well, I hope that he takes my offer. I would love to have that on display next week here on the show, but I can't imagine we're going to be able to top this next week, but I look forward to seeing what you've got up your sleeve. Thanks for all the time today, Tony, and we'll see you next week right here on WrestleWorth. Don't forget, if you've got something on your shelf and you wonder, hey, what's that worth? Shoot us an email. We want your pictures. We want your story. We'll show it to Tony. If you like the number, you guys can chat. Maybe you could cash in. What is it worth? Find out by sending us an email, wrestleworth@gmail.com. Tony, thanks for all the time. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Tony.
Hey, speaking about money, I think we should take just a minute and thank our sponsor, Cash App. I think there's probably a few financial lessons that all of us wish we would have learned earlier. Well, you can go ahead and empower your kids right now with Cash App. This is a heads up for all the parents out there with teenagers. Listen, I know you're already trying to keep up with a million different things, and you got to keep it all under control. I want you to know that Cash App is here to make sure that your teen's money and their spending isn't adding to that craziness. Here's the heads up. With the Cash App card, it's available for teens age 13 to 17 with sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, and every transaction will trigger a real-time notification for you to see. That's going to empower your teen to practice independence, but it's also going to give you the peace of mind of being able to keep an eye on things. You can also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without ever having to switch between the two. That makes it simple to stay connected to your teen's financial activity in a way that's both efficient and empowering. And here's the thing no parent wants: unnecessary surprises. Well, with Cash App, you'll love this. There's no monthly fees. There's no minimum balance requirements. There's no hidden charges when you're sending or receiving money. And with the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring. And if the card ever gets lost, you have the ability to lock their card right from your phone in just one tap. I think you'll absolutely love this product. I wish it was available before now. I could see how this is going to help millions of families. No kidding. You get to skip the stress and give your teen a way to learn financial responsibility and do it with no hidden fees. New Cash App customers can earn $10 when they use the code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up, and then send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Cash App Visa Debit Flex Cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, and the Bank Corp NA, pursuant to a license of the Visa USA Inc. See terms and conditions for Sutton Prepaid Card, Sutton Debit Flex Card, and the Bank Corp Debit Flex Card. Savings provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. So, John, I'm pretty excited, man. We've had a lot of fun filming on the road. This little program we're calling Curtain Jerkers. And when we first had this idea, gosh, over a year ago, you and I started kicking around, hey, what if? And one of the first names that we kept bubbling to the top is your great close personal friend, the Godfather. How excited were you to finally be face-to-face with Godfather on Curtain Jerkers? This was a blast.
An absolute blast. Like, I love Godfather. We had so much fun together. We had, oh my God, talk about the times we rode together for years, on and off. We've been friends. I went out to his wedding when he got married, years ago, the famous picture where we dressed as pimps. But Godfather's been such a great part of my life, me and Ron both. So it's lots of fun to have him on our show.
He tells an Undertaker story that is going to melt the internet. You are not.
Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. I'd heard this before, but it's never been told publicly. So, and I had heard this before. It's Taker's a different guy. He's always reserved and he's always was in character. But when he cut loose, he had some wild freaking times. And this was one of the times he cut loose that is actually legendary. And Godfather tells the story.
I can't wait for you guys to hear that, but I can't wait for you to see something that we spliced in from this past January. You were thinking about maybe having a match, and of course we saw that recently here on Curtain Jerkers. You were teaming with Barbarian and Warlord, but just to get back in the swing of things, you decided, hey, why don't I run the ropes here a little bit and just knock the ring rust off a little bit? But I need a tackling dummy, and somehow, some way, as you call him, the Cassette Kid decided, hey, what's a clothesline from hell feel like? Well, he found out, and I can't wait for you guys to see Curtain Jerkers. Let's take a look.
Welcome into another edition of Curtain Jerkers live from Jeff Jarrett's Asylum Weekend.
We're live.
I'm Cassio. I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, John Bradshaw Layfield. JBL, we got a good guest today.
We got a great guest today.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the Godfather!
Cassio.
My man.
How you doing, baby?
Good to see you. Thank you, brother.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah!
Where am I lucky enough to sit?
Woo!
Hey, let's get that bag out.
Let's get that bag out.
See, you got my attention real quick. Hose down.
Buddy, what is up, man?
Man, just chilling out here in Nashville.
Nash Vegas with the Godfather. It is good to see you. First, it's good to see you in person, man. You all usually
That's right.
see each other on a call.
For a year, we did that, right?
Yeah. John, how long have y'all known each other?
Oh, shoot. Since the mid-90s?
Germany.
That's right. Well, Germany. That's right. Germany. The early
Germany.
90s. That's right. The early 90s. Yeah. I was there when he walked in and slapped Ludwig Borga.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Oh, yeah. So we're sitting there. Godfather comes over, and he's this freaking huge man. Of course, Otto loved huge guys. And plus, he could work. He was a great dude. We didn't know that at the time. But we're sitting there at the bar. I'm sitting there with Finley. I think we're in Hanover, right? Or Hanover or Bremen?
Yes, I think we're in
Hanover or Bremen.
Bremen, Dortmund, one of
the northern cities in Germany. We're sitting there at the bar. I'm sitting there with Finley and some other guys. And Godfather walks in. There's Ludwig Borka was sitting there by himself, just kind of doing stuff. Kind of a weird dude. Godfather walks in and just slaps the shit out of him.
Well, there was more to the story than
Let's
that.
go.
And we're sitting. No, there was. And we're sitting there going, he just slapped the shit out of him. Luke Borga's a big guy. Of course, he's huge, too. He slapped the shit out of him. Luke Borga did absolutely nothing. I mean, nothing. And we're going, I think we want to drink with that guy. I don't know what happened, but we want to drink with that guy.
I don't remember everything. Something about my watch coming off and him saying something smart ass.
Yeah, there was a history there. You told us later there was a history there. But Borga deserved it.
That's probably why he didn't retaliate.
There was a reason for it.
I don't know if you remember this. The first time I met you, we were in one of those towns. They brought me in to come to work against Otto. You were in the town.
Yeah.
And they didn't have my hotel right. and they had all the boys staying in a hotel where everybody was using the same bathroom on the floor.
That's right.
And I had my wife with me, and I'm like, dude, I ain't doing this. I'll go home.
That's
And
right.
I remember telling you, first stuff, if I teach you anything, make them stick to what they say they're going to do.
That's right. It was a terrific lesson because he said they promised me they would not do this to me because he had his wife with him. Because we're staying like a boarding house. We had a bathroom down the hall because we didn't have any money, and but he bring him over. He's a freaking big star. He's already been on TV, WWE. He's Papa Shango. He's this big fucking star. Bring him over. He goes, hey, and he goes, if you learn one thing, make them do what they say.
Make them do what they say.
Yep. And they did. They put him up in the hotel. It's like I thought, you know what? Lesson learned. That was pretty interesting.
I want to bring up many things, but one, the infamous picture that is all over the board, all over the internet, and that is this man dressed as a pimp at your wedding.
With Ron Simmons dressed as a pimp.
And their wives.
That's right. And our wives dressed
ladies, I'm not even going to say hoes. Ladies of the night.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So did you know they were coming dressed up like that?
I knew they were coming, but I didn't know they were coming like that. I thought it was great, man, that they'd put the time and effort to do that. That's a great picture.
Whose idea was that, John?
Me and Ron both came up with that. I'm not sure what it was. And once we started, pitching the idea, it snowballs. You tell Ron Simmons, so there's a picture right there.
Here we go.
Oh, but take one of the few pictures, you'll see him with a white shirt on.
So we spent like 2 or 3 days collecting this stuff, putting it all together. We got our wives dressed up like ladies of the night. We thought we were walking to the wedding about 5 or 10 minutes late, make a scene. And so we started doing it. I hope they find this funny, because we're interrupting everything. We walked in, the whole place just started laughing.
Hell yeah. Come on.
People thought it was great. The Godfather was created with me and Godfather on the road wrestling.
What do you mean?
100%. He created it with me. We were wrestling. I like Godfather to tell the story. Wrestling the popcorn match. The match after intermission, getting ready. Godfather was trying a new character. I'm new, and neither one of us are really over at that time. And Godfather told me one day, "I'll let you tell the story."
Well, we're in the popcorn match, which is, if you guys don't know, it's the match after intermission. It's kind of just to give the people a chance to get back in their seats and stuff. And me and Johnny are going hard 10, 12 minutes, and we're literally beating the hell out of each other, trying to give the people something, trying to get the people. And, I mean, we're beating the hell out of each other. People are sitting on their hands. So me and my wife, actually, my wife is the one that really came up with the whole idea of The Godfather, and we were talking about it. So one day I'm like, John, let's try something different. So we went to, I think Jack Lanza was the agent.
He was, yeah.
I'm like, Jack, I want to try something. Can I talk on the mic tonight? He's like, yeah, Charles, go ahead, do what you want. And so I went to John. I'm like, dude, just go along with me. I don't know what I'm going to do, but kind of just go along with me. So I think I went out there and I said, now, mind you, we're going 10 minutes, and we're not getting no reaction from the people.
That's right.
None at all. So I go out there now, and now I'm growing my hair, and I've got a hat. I'm kind of changing my look a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I'm a pimp. And the people, kind of how you guys just chuckled, they kind of
So
chuckled.
did I, because I had no idea he was going to say it.
No idea. I said, but what you don't know is right here in Nashville, Tennessee, they got some of the best hoes ever born. And now the people, and then anyway, we go through the whole thing. Now you went from no reaction to the people going, take the hose, take the hose.
It was crazy.
The whole crowd.
It hadn't even been on TV yet.
So we get through this. I think, now mind you, I have no girls. I'm saying in the back, in the limo. So Johnny would take the girls. Hey, what the hell? He'd take the girls, and he'd start walking away, and then I'd start healing on the people. You bunch of dumb rednecks, another dummy. Johnny would turn around. They'd buzz me. I'd turn around. He'd hit me with that stiff-ass lariat. And 1, 2, 3, and I'd pop off and put my hat back on and say, man, pimping ain't easy. And the place would pop. And then we did it 2 or 3, 4 times on the road. We got to TV, and Vincent says, Charles, whatever you're doing, this thing might have some legs to it. What would you need to put it on TV? And I'm like, I need some hoes. And so he's like, well, where are we going to get some hoes? I'm like, well, let me get Taker. So me and Taker, I swear, me, Undertaker, and the Harris twins, Ron and Don Harris. We went to a strip club, got some girls. I went to a flea market, bought some fake jewelry, bought a hat, went to a big and tall place, bought a vest. and we put it on TV.
That's right. And the thing got over immediately. Absolutely immediately. It was unbelievable.
Do you know who the first person to book the girls was?
Who?
Bruce Prichard.
Really?
You guys didn't know that, did you?
Bruce booking hoes, baby.
Bruce's job was to book the hose at first. Yeah.
He had some ugly hoes one time, and he said, "What do I do?" And I said, "Well, what would you normally do?" He gets out there, he's got these ugly hoes out there with him, and people are just kind of like booing and kind of looking at him. And Godfather grabs the microphone and goes, "Now you're telling me which one of you guys after a 6-pack wouldn't do all of them?" And everybody goes, "Yeah, Godfather!" It got over like $1 million.
What a crazy gimmick.
It was unbelievable.
But then once it got over, you didn't have to recruit them, right? The hoes were coming to y'all.
After a while, I don't know how it worked, but as I understand it, clubs and people would call and say, "Hey, you guys are coming to town. We'd like to supply Godfather's hose." And
so hoes would just show up backstage. I mean, it was the Attitude Era. I mean, it was nuts.
Do you remember the signs of Vince's office, talent?
Oh, yes.
And it said, Godfather's hose.
Yeah, that's right.
And the first thing the boys would be like, "Where's the Godfather's hose at?" You know, it was a pretty cool thing. Can you imagine back then, every day, having 5-6 strippers in the back with all the boys every day with just somebody like Jack Lanza or somebody?
That's right. That's right.
It was really a cool time.
Do we know any of those hoes? Is that a random city of hoes?
No, I know that this one here, the one I remember this. Trish, what was her name? Trish Stratus, right?
No.
Trish?
Was that her?
No, that's not. But the wrestler Trish.
Yeah.
She wore a hat, and she came to me about this girl and says, "Hey, Godfather, it's kind of my gimmick that I wear these hats and shit." And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "So I'd appreciate it if you tell your girl not to put it on, right?" I went back there. I'm like, "Oh, that hat looks lovely on you." "No, put it on. You guys got any more of them?" Yeah. After that, she really, I think I had heat with her after that.
Hey, we even had like the ugly hoe train. Like we had the old hoe train with Chavo Classic. We had the ugly hoe train with Viscera. I mean, we had some really good stuff.
What a gimmick. I'm not sure it was a gimmick.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't. I don't think it was a gimmick.
JCW Lunacy. New episodes every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on YouTube. For over 25 years, JCW has delivered the very best in pro wrestling entertainment, bringing fans deep storytelling drama, gut-busting comedy, and unbelievable in-ring action. From wild characters to unforgettable rivalries, don't miss a single moment. Tune in every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on YouTube. JCW Lunacy.
You sure you're gonna?
That's real bad. It's real bad.
You want to take
Bad decision. Bad decision.
All right, here we go. You ready? You ready? You ready?
No. Yeah, no.
Okay, let's go.
You was in the air before he touched you. That's not good either.
I did Undertaker.
That's the new deal.
One more time.
You want to run the ropes?
No, I do not want to run anything.
He says, "I'm done. Don't ask me to do nothing."
No, I'm done. No, that's good. I survived, y'all.
Yeah.
The Cassette Kid.
Good job.
I took the clothesline from the head. Yeah! Not even in the match. You weren't even in the match. Now you just get stretched by Briscoe.
Hey, we're in Florida one time. Talk about not being a gimmick. Me and Ron are driving along about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're on A1A, and we see Godfather pulled over like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We thought, oh shit! I know he's probably got something on him he might not should have. So we pulled in front of the cop car. This before the vapes, you had to smoke, just the joints. So by the time we get out of the car, and it's in front of the cop car, middle of the day, wind blowing, we can smell the weed coming out of his car. Oh no, this is bad. So we walk back there, and Ron says, "Hey Charles, let me talk to the cop." Well, Godfather has smoked this weed, and so he says, "No, the cop saw me, want to take my picture. Hey, get in here, it's APA." So he's standing in the highway with this cop taking a picture. True story. The cop recognized him, pulled him over, wanted his picture,
but. You forgot one thing. The dog.
Oh my goodness, he had a drug dog in his car. So they pulled over this car that's got more shit in it than a Colombian cartel.
Come on now. Come on. I'm not Tony Montana and stuff.
And they got this drug dog in the back of his car, and the dog in the back of his car is going, "Oh!" And he's scratching the window like, "Hey, bitch, I done hit the mother load. I'm going to get doggy medals. Let me out of this car."
Remember what he said? The cop said, "Oh, my dog's a wrestling fan too."
That's right. That's right.
And I know for sure they smelt it.
They had to.
I know. One question. Every story, I love the stories you tell. You tell them. Doesn't he tell great stories?
Yeah.
Doesn't he tell great stories? Why does every story involving me has to do with Smiz and smoking? Can you tell one story that doesn't involve me smoking? Was I really that bad?
Sure I can. Let me tell a story. No, I can't tell one.
Not one?
I don't.
How about when I was naked with the belt in the window?
Oh, that was awesome. So we're going by a hotel. It's like more of a motel. So we parked outside. Me and Ron are walking in, and we look in there and we see this huge man in his room, and we realize it's Godfather, and he's sitting there and he's smizzing like this, and he's got the Intercontinental belt on, and that's all. He's buck naked and he's looking in the mirror, and he's in great shape at the time, but he's looking at himself. He's flexing his abs like this, and he's sitting there like this. And he's sitting there, he's flexing his abs, like he's Brad Pitt, And me and Ron are just looking in the window, and finally we knock on the window, and Godfather goes, "Hey guys," and just keep flexing. It was awesome.
Was that a daily ritual? Or you were just feeling yourself that day?
He did look good.
At that time, no telling. No telling.
Hey, one time we had a fire alarm pull. We're like up in Albany or somewhere up in North New York. Somewhere, I think it was. Could have been, who knows where it was. Somewhere. But a fire alarm was pulled by a fan wanting to see the wrestlers. So all the guys go out like at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Me and Ron are out there, and we look up, and Godfather's still in his room. And he smushed himself up against the window like this. And he's buck naked. This huge man is smushed up against
starfish up against.
Yeah, smushed up against the starfish against the window. And the chief of the fire was like, "Guys, we need to get if you guys would go up there, there's a large black," he goes, "Just forget it. Let him be." Yeah.
Oh my God, we had some fun, didn't we?
Oh my God, did we ever? We almost had to check into a secondhand smoke clinic, me and Ron.
They don't even smoke.
And we don't even smoke. We'd stop off at Bob Evans, and he and Teddy Long will get like chicken breast and stuff. We get pies and cakes.
Secondhand munchies.
Me and Ron be so damn high.
I was in the ring with me and Bull were the tag team champions. And we were wrestling you and Ron. And I don't know what happened or what happened to me, but I kind of just started doing my own thing. And I started hitting the ropes and doing all types
Just
of
running.
stuff. Just running the ropes. Ron goes, "Stop." Now, I don't know what it is you want to do, but apparently you don't want to listen to me. And so he went on his mouth like, "I'm sorry, Ron, I'm high."
And Ron looks at me. I said, "Don't tag me.
No.
Do not tag me."
And then you told me, you gave me an arm drag, and you said, "That has got to be the worst arm drag anybody's ever taken from me."
He was so high one night, I told him, I said, "Godfather hit me with the hoe train." He goes, "No, don't worry about it. We'll do it tomorrow." I said, "That's the finish. You're going over. You're winning." Okay. And he's like, he tells me, he goes, "Don't get hot."
As you could, I had a lot of fun there. But for some reason, I was allowed to get away with it. I don't know why. Nobody ever told me, "John, you can do this or that." I probably, if I took 200 drug tests, I was never popped dirty. Not one time.
Really?
Not one time.
Wow.
Not one
Wow.
That's excellent. It's a good drug test.
I used to go, and we called them pecker checkers because they would actually watch you pull your stuff out, and they'd watch because the boys are doing all types of gimmicks. Has fakes this and fake that. So they would literally watch you, and the guys would say, "Do you know you smell like cannabis right now?" And I'd be like, "Dude, I always smell like cannabis. That ain't nothing." Not one time did I pop dirty. And not one time,
Wow.
not one time did anybody say it's okay to do it. For whatever reason, they gave me a pass.
Wow.
You know better than me why. I don't know. You're in the office.
yeah. Hey, when we go to Canada, we get right behind Godfather because wherever Godfather went, it like set off alarms and dogs and whistles and shit. We could have had AK-47s. We could have had dirty uranium. We could have had anything we wanted to get behind Godfather. Because me and Godfather go through, the whole security would go to me and Ron would just go through. Here's Pat. Just go.
I remember something you and Ron did to me one time with the dog.
Yes,
I think it was in These Dirty Dogs. Did you want to tell it?
Oh yeah. So we see this cop, and this cop says, "Hey, APA." I said,
Before you start, I have a bag on me.
Correct. And most of the boys did. So this cop says, "Hey, can we get a picture of you guys?" I said, "Yes, we're happy to." And I said, "You have a dog there?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Is that a bomb dog or a drug dog?" And he said, "Oh, that's a bomb dog." And I said, "Can bomb dogs smell drugs?" And he goes, "No, it's one or the other." I said, "You want to meet the boys?" So me and Ron come down the escalator. We got this cop with us and a dog. And they know me and Ron been drinking. Godfather looks up and he goes, "The fuck y'all doing?" And he ran across baggage claim, just left his bag. Guys are just like going. It's like shining a light on a bunch of ants. They all just like, yeah. They were all so mad at us.
Oh,
They're like, "You two dumbasses got to bring in a cop with a dog."
oh, geez.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever get in any trouble at the airport?
No.
You just traveled, made it through everything.
Dude, I always tell people I'm not Snoop Dogg, but for some reason I've always gotten that Snoop Dogg treatment when it came to cannabis.
Come on, man.
And I, besides the being high and all that, seriously, on the real, cannabis for me is the best thing in the world. It got me off of taking Somas, Vicodins, Percocets, Halcyons, Placidyls, drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels a day. I mean, or more.
And you don't want to see Bear on Jack Daniels.
No.
Brother.
Especially if I take my shirt off. That's
We're in a bar in Albuquerque. Godfather says, "Now, don't you two guys get us into a fight. A bunch of rednecks here, so we're going to get us into a fight. Do not get into a fight." He's had a bunch of Jack Daniels. The bouncer comes up. He comes and says, "Would you come get your buddy, please?" I said, "What has he done?" And he goes, "Look at him." And he's out there on the dance floor. He's got his shirt off. This 300-pound man. He's huge. And he's sitting there dancing with all the women in the bar. And all these cowboys are around going, "If he gets a little bit drunker, we're going to jump him." And you can just see it in their eyes. Like, yeah. Godfather on Jack Daniels is, brother, it's Katie bar the freaking door.
but
A lot of
not
bar
anymore.
fights?
No. No.
Hey,
What's a lot?
I'll tell you what. We got the Brawl for All, and he's fighting the former UFC champion, the guy who won the UFC when there were no freaking rules, okay, in a shoot fight, okay? So he's about to fight the UFC former freaking champion, and he's sitting. Gerald Briscoe says, "Where's Godfather?" And I said, "You don't want to know." He goes, "No, he's not. He's back there with boxing gloves in the back, and he's smoking a joint like that." They're waiting for him to fight the former UFC champion, Dan Severn. And he's acting like it. But he's smoking a joint. Oh, my God. This might be the toughest man on the planet. He's certainly the craziest.
But, like I said, not for everybody, but for me, it's the best thing in the world. It makes the thing about me, it's not that I can outsmoke you, I can outlast you, meaning the more I smoke, I don't care if it's an indica or a sativa, the more energy I get. And the more I smoke, I'll be like, "Let's go do some push-ups. Let's go do this. Let's go do that." And it's weird. It makes me more creative. But most people aren't like that. So for me, it's a good thing.
Remember when me and Ron woke you up about 2 o'clock in the morning when the bars closed? "We're going to smoke with you, Godfather. Get up." That was the dumbest thing we ever did. That was stupid.
What happened?
That happens a lot with people trying to.
The bar had closed, and we still want to have some fun. So Godfather, we know he's in his room, so we're going to knock on his. I mean, we don't knock on his door, bang on his door. "Godfather, get up! We're going to smoke with you. We're going to smoke with you." Godfather goes, "Okay." He gets to the door. He's like sitting there. An hour later, we're like, "Can we go home, please? We're sorry that we bothered you. Will you let us leave? We'll never do this again. We're sorry. We apologize."
Oh my gosh, we had some fun.
Yeah.
Well, he's told us about seeing you nude. How many times have you seen this man nude?
More than I care to mention.
Give us one.
Are you married now?
I am. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm not going to tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah. So shut up, Cassio.
Yeah.
But I will say this: we've done a lot. Me, him, and his partner have done a lot of stuff together.
We have. We rode together a long time. We had some good times. That little peanut head Teddy long would drive us.
Mr. Never Pay Teddy.
Never pay. That's right. Never paid nothing.
Damn.
He never picked up any checks.
It would be his turn to buy gas. Your turn to get the renter card. When it came to Teddy's, he couldn't find his wallet. You know the story. I know. So I'll get you next time. But he would never pay.
We'd go to a toll booth. He'd turn into Galileo. He just like, look at Teddy. We're not going to ask you to pay the 75-cent toll, okay? We'll pay it. One time we got it, he had to pay gas, and we're like, I got like the $39. That's back when gas was really cheap. And Ron goes, pour the rest on the ground. So I poured the rest of the ground just so Teddy would have a $40 bill. Because I got like the 39.62 or something, and I go, man, shit! I thought, and it's like I couldn't get any more gas in the car, and like Teddy was like panicking. So Teddy went inside, Ron was poured on the ground. So I just like.
We had a lot of fun.
We had a great time.
Oh, my God.
We had some really good times.
Want to grow your business with the power of podcast advertising? Reach loyal, engaged audiences through trusted host endorsements across the Podcast Heat Network. To learn more about advertising opportunities, email dave@podcastheat.com or visit our website at podcastheat.com.
Some of the stories we can't tell.
Well,
Taker, what about him?
give us a good Taker story.
Oh, what's a good Taker story?
Y'all know.
I don't want to get nobody in trouble.
Yeah, we can get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah. I'm gonna leave him out of it.
Yeah.
We'll tell on each other.
That's right. We'll tell all again on each other. We don't care about that.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on.
He's got a lot
For me to open up about things, I'll say one thing about him, and he's not gonna like this, but I don't care. When he was in the, I just got back from Germany, okay? And this is before I was Papa Shango. And he was in Vegas. I don't know, I better not. Okay, I'll tell you. So I used to be the manager, bartender, doorman, bounce, everything at this club called the Crazy Horse, the Topless Club, like in the late 80s. All right, so Taker comes in like he'd always did, and we're having some Jack and Coke, so I'm bartending. And you guys remember that song? I think it was Right Said Fred or something. I'm too sexy for it, right? Taker, with his big 6'9", 300-something pound ass, gets up on a stage at a topless bar, gets on the pole, is dancing and spinning around on the pole. Swear to God. I wish they had cameras and video back then. But he's singing, I'm too sexy. He's going to be mad at me. Yeah.
Look at this old picture. Tell me what's going on here, man.
Oh,
look at those babies.
That's probably Nashville, Memphis. I'm the Soul Taker. He's Master of Pain. And we were, for a short time, a tag team called Death Express. And that's when I met him. And that's what we look like. That's had to be 88.
Boy, y'all were running things back then.
Yeah.
We are in Tennessee. We've been talking about the the Jarretts and the whole family and everything. But I know the story, but a lot of people might not know. You won the belt first time you ever wrestled in Memphis, right?
Yeah, not only first time ever wrestled, but really ever wrestled. Ever. I went to. I got into wrestling because they were filming a movie called Over the Top, a Sylvester Stallone movie. I think Scott Norton was in that. I'm not sure, but there were some wrestlers in that, maybe not well known, but they were extras. And they would come to, Terry Funk was in it. And they would come to my bar. Now, mind you, I'm powerlifting then. I'm massive. I'm
huge.
340 and just boom, boom. And so the guys would come in, they're like, hey, you should be a wrestler, man. And I'm like, I don't want to do that phony shit. And they're like, well, mind you, I didn't grow up watching wrestling. I grew up in the 70s watching roller derby. roller derby in the 70s in the Bay Area was big. I mean, they're doing movies about him then. So, like, well, have you ever heard of this guy named Bam Bam Bigelow? I'm like, yeah, the dude with the tattoos on his head. They said, well, he made $1 million last year. And I said, wrestling? Made a call. Went to the Monster Factory. Never went to school. Went to strip clubs and partied all night, chasing girls, like I always did. Never went to wrestling school. Jerry Lawler, Larry Sharp calls me and says, Jerry Lawler's coming down to take a look at you. I'm like, what do you mean take a look at me? I don't know nothing. He goes, he wants to take a look at you. So I get in the ring with Jerry, do a couple things. I don't even know how to lock up. I really haven't been to school. I've been there a month just going to bars. And so Jerry gets in the ring. He's like, I can work with him. My very first match ever, not knowing a damn thing. I thought it was a half-ass shoot. Not knowing anything was against Jerry the King Lawler, and I beat him on a Monday night in Memphis. Not clean, but, you know, fire and this and that. So I worked the program with Jerry for 2 or 3 months. He gets his belt back. Now I'm as green as Kermit the Frog. I don't know. I only know what Jerry Lawler's been telling me to do. So they say, well, we want to keep you around, but let me see. So they said, we're going to bring this tall, redheaded kid in that's been in the business, you know, a lot longer than you, a little longer than you, and maybe he can help you. That's Taker. And that's when they brought Taker in, and we became friends, and here we are.
The rest is epic history.
Yes,
right,
it
baby?
is.
Yeah.
3 wives, kids, problems. Like when I talk to Take, we never talk wrestling and never have. It's about life and kids and family. That's the thing, our relax. Never about wrestling. The day that he dropped that strap to Brock, I was with him all day. Not one time did he mention that to me, or we even talked about it, you know, because we just talk about so many other life, kids, divorces. There's a lot of them. Hats. He knows better than.
Hey, and they were the real APA. They I've said that many times. They were the real APA. Those guys were Cool Hand Luke, man. Those guys could drink amounts of whiskey that would kill dinosaurs, and they'd be fine. And they'd go back to the hotel, get up the next morning, go to the gym, go to get on a flight somewhere and go somewhere else, then do it again the next night. People don't realize it was happening every single night.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were rolling.
Yoko could really, Yokozuna, he'd drink a bottle of Jack and just look at you.
That's right. Yeah.
Who was in the car? You used to travel with Yoko? You? Because you said y'all fought over the music.
Oh, that was, let me see, let me get this right. I'm driving. Yoko's over here, Taker's in the back, and I want to see either Macho, Kurt Hennig, somebody like that's in the car too. I'm not sure who. And so, those that don't know me, I'm a big country and western person, and I mean like 70s and 80s country music. I'm really into that. And so I had some old Hank Williams Jr. on there, some Bocephus, and I'm just chewing. I chew tobacco. I'm a lot more country than you guys think I am. A lot more. You know, I got way too many guns. I'm one of them guys. And so, like I said, I also chew tobacco, Copenhagen. So I'm in the car, and I'm dipping, and I'm driving, and I got a little Hank, and I'm singing my Hank. Yeah, I'm singing the Hank songs. All of a sudden, Yoko, back then it was cassettes. So Yoko looks at the cassette, looks at me, looks at the cassette, puts his window down, ejects the tape, throws it out the window. I'm like, dude, what the hell? What the hell? He's like, yo, motherfucker. Anybody ever tell you black? He goes, because I don't think you know that.
And then he was listening to hip hop. He was putting in the rap.
Yeah. Oh, Yoke?
Yeah.
Oh, Yoke was real hip hop. He could rap.
Oh, yeah. Yoke
Like
was good.
Booyah
He was
track.
very good.
I mean, he could really rap.
Yeah, very
Killing
talented guy.
You know, yeah. Believe it or not, I'm country. I'm a lot more country than you think I am.
Well, my man, thank you for sitting down with us.
Oh,
Always
nothing
good to
but
catch
love.
up with you. Good to see y'all catching up as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the Godfather himself, Papa Shango,
Thank you, guys.
the Soul Taker, baby.
Come on.
Another edition of Curtain Jerkers in the books. Thank y'all for checking us out.